Cody Reed did not know if he was going to race here tonight. Showed up late, missed out on practice, was here for qualifying. They're spinning a record as they cross the line. White flag is out. This race is official. Cody Reed got too big of a gap. Gavin Rogers, Scioli are going to have the run. Ollie Finsick in the 24 as well, going to be right there. Malarkey as well. It is going to be a huge run that this 25 has to hold back. Here we go. Scioli goes high. Rogers falls to the 25. They're both trying to find an opening to get around this. They're on production machine. They're 3 wide. Ollie gives the bump to Cody Reed. Reed has the run. They're 3 wide behind. Cody Reed wins. It's go time for Hall. He's got to pass 3 drivers in 1 lap. Will he get by Forbes, or will Forbes block and defend? Hall trying to get to the inside. Forbes stays wide. Hall hits contact. Get out of the way, Forbes. Hall wants the win, but he overcooks the corner. He'll lose time there. Now going to be a 2.5 back, and Richard, it might just be down to the teammates.
Where will the mistake happen? Green looks like he's out of fuel. No, he just gets he's out of fuel. Talmadge makes the pass, and now Zach Hall coming down. But Talmadge could squeak away with this win if Hall does not get around Green fast enough.
Green just completely gives up on the chicane. He'll stay to the outside. Hall, though, he is finding himself closing in on the gap. He's a second back. Thomas Green does not there. No fuel for himself. Jared Talmadge, he doesn't have the fuel. Hall sneaks by. Final chicane. Hall overcooks it. Talmadge gets through into the wall. Who's going to have the time? They both slow down, and it's Hall at the line. Hall.
Right now, Jared Talmadge is going to try to throw a haymaker out of number 3 into turn 3.
Down to the apron. Does Talmadge have the run? Was the dive bomb big enough? He'll slide his way into the 3. They're almost door banging off the exit of turn 4. Side by side, coming to the line, and it's gonna be Ryan Kelly with the nose. 6 1/1000ths of a second goes to Ryan Kelly. Benjamin Nelson, Cody Reed on the inside groove, but it's Christopher Wade. Shane Terrian going to be leading the middle and the outside lane. Well, Christopher Wade, he gets tapped. Spud is the 53. It's down to Zach Hall. Benjamin Nelson, lock yourself into the next round. The 79 to the outside. Zach Hall in the 32 on the inside groove. Could Cody Reed be the stealer? Inside, down to the yellow line. Cody Reed steals it at the line. Before we get ourselves to the 802 Next Gen Elite Series racing action, we want to say thank you to some of the primary sponsors of the 802 Racing League. First and foremost, thank you to 802 themselves. Thank you to our post-race show sponsor, Riptide Radio. We want to also say thank you to G-Stone Motors. You can check them out in person in Middlebury, Vermont. As well, I want to say thank you to BG Graphics. As well, the 802 iRacing League podcast. And finally, the admin box. Thank you to all the major sponsors that help out with the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Now let's get ready for the racing action.
Motorsports and racing cars is a big part of the heritage here at G-Stone Motors. Todd and I have been racing each other for years. I love the one-on-one competition. It comes bottom line, we're all behind each other and support each other with everything we do. I think that says a lot about our company's culture. I'm Vince Quinville, Service Manager at G-Stone Motors.
G-Stone Motors, your family Ford dealership, Route 7 South, Middlebury, Vermont.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Freaky Fast broadcasting on your Thursday night. Tonight, we give you the coverage of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. It's only the second race of the season. We just came off of a good one at Michigan International Speedway. Rob Lowell found himself into victory lane. And we've got plenty of other hungry drivers that would love to do the same here just for race number 2 as the drivers test their skills, not at a track with 4 corners, but let's try just 3 as it's the Tricky Triangle 225 at Pocono Raceway. Again, here tonight on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're proud to give you all the coverage. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall. And Zach, looking at the numbers, we are over 40 drivers, so we get to have some knockout qualifying here in 8 minutes, but everyone is still getting their little bit of practice in here at Pocono.
Awesome to see so many cars once again, Sam. So it's great to be back here at 802. I'm excited. We're at the Tricky Triangle. What a track this place is, too, especially with this next gen. It is, in my opinion, performed as a track that I would say is more racy and more able to kind of make those maneuvers around each other with this next gen car. It seems like the draft plays a huge factor, so that really keeps the packs together, and the racing throughout the entire run is really fantastic. So I'm excited for tonight. Plenty of cars out there, but there's a lot on the line when it comes to qualifying. 3 corners that you have to nail if you want to be in this show.
Plenty of drivers signing up. We talked about how the fact that we had over 50 drivers that have officially registered before the first race of the season last week at Michigan even went underway. Well, since then, we've had over 6 drivers sign up just over this week, wanting to test their skills with the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. I've also heard a lot of other drivers that would have loved to race in this series, but are busy racing in other leagues. But still, the excitement is brewing. This is going to be a fun night. We will have knockout qualifying as 43 drivers have registered up, meaning 3 that have shown up here tonight will not be able to race for our featured 90 laps at Pocono. We also want to say thank you to the primary sponsors for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series Season 1. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to G-Stone Motors, as well as BG Graphics, the 802 iRacing League podcast, as well as Admin Box and Riptide Radio, our most recent show sponsor. But here at Pocono, this certainly is going to be a long one. We know qualifying is going to be an important one for trying to qualify your way into the race. Zach, track position. That is going to be a hard one that a lot of these drivers are hunting for. And some of the top drivers from practice being Christopher Muse, as well as Jim Ott, Rob Lowell himself, the winner from last week, Mark Whitley, and Grant Humphrey being your top 5 currently.
Yeah, track position is a very critical thing for sure. I think that's one thing we'll talk about a lot here tonight, Sam, when it comes to this racetrack. It's very important to be in the front, I would say top 5, top 10 if anything, especially when it comes to a 40-car field. The farther you get back, it just gets much more difficult. And the air, of course, we talk about it every week with this car, it gets worse. It just gets completely worse the more cars are behind. You lose more downforce, passes become that much more tough for everybody around. So it definitely is a track position style race, but it isn't a place I think that where you can't pass. It is very possible. It's just on the more difficult side.
Who's going to be willing to be aggressive at the early portions out there in chat? I want to say thank you to Richard Wolsifer, who has been a commentator for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, and as well will be a driver on our new Tuesday night coverage of the BRB Sundance Pizza Pro Series, as we will be covering those guys. We're excited to be covering the summer split for their race. But Richard out in chat didn't realize they started so soon here in the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. Excited to see Johnny Wood Jr. out on the track. That's another driver we know is going to be quick, going to be a driver who's excited to see where he's going to find the speed, because I got a feeling that 75 is going to be the one that can hit victory lane, as well as about probably 10 other drivers here this evening.
No doubt, yeah. There's going to be a lot of people who have shown us a ton of speed so far in the preseason, and especially last week at Michigan, to where we come to Pocono here. I think a lot can translate, even though 2 different tracks. I think a lot of what we learned last week could be applied to tonight. So we'll really have to see how these drivers go about attacking the racetrack and see who are the ones to beat. Maybe there will be some surprises, of course, because again, this track is very unique. So certain drivers are not going to prefer it, while certain other drivers are going to be really excited to come here because they just know this unique challenge is something they're up for.
And one of the new drivers that signed up that is already showing numbers in the top 10 of speed, Isaiah Sutherland, 74. I think that was one of the main talking point drivers when I saw who was signing up this week. I was excited. Isaiah Sutherland, a driver known for aggression, being very fast at the concrete courses. We'll see how well he can run further on in the season when we get to those types of tracks. Some other drivers that we expect to have some good speed are winner from Dover during the preseason, Johnny Barker in the 6th machine, 7th on the board. That's going to be a guy I'm expecting a little bit more here this evening, wanting a good run. But obviously, the teammates, Scott Simley, who got the pole last week, and the driver who was in the top 2 every race during the preseason, Mike Kelly. What are those two drivers going to expect? Because it was just the start of the race, caught speeding right before the initial start of the race where they got black flag, where their races went up in smoke.
That's exactly right, Sam. Yeah, they pretty much started the race from the front and then had to go all the way to the back. So it was the worst possible situation for those two teammates, but they showed so much speed that I think if they can carry that to tonight, not have the issue on the restart, they should be right in the mix. Of course, Simley did a great job to get back up through the field. Unfortunately for Kelly, he was unfortunately caught up in some incidences, so wasn't the greatest night for him after a great qualifying run. So we'll see again if that can translate to here tonight. But if anything, we saw Mike Kelly. Don't count him out for driving through the field also, because in the preseason we know he has been very good at passing.
Not the strongest at qualifying. He said so during the preseason when I interviewed him so many times. It was one of the things he was trying to develop and get better at. But the driver on screen, this is Devin McCaffrey, the 29, extremely quick. Kind of fell off late during the running last week at Michigan. But this 29 looking pretty good. 12th on the leaderboard at this current moment, as we got less than 2 minutes left. And here is crunch time. Zach, as we've been talking, more drivers have registered up. The number up to 45 drivers have registered, meaning 5 will not be making it to our featured event. Only 40 make it to race for 90 laps here tonight.
Oh man, the stakes are only rising, folks. So if you're out there tuning in, make sure you're ready for this qualifying session that we're about to head into. It is so important because, again, this is no guarantees. There's nobody out there guaranteed a spot. It is all about this qualifying lap. Everything's on the line. If you make a big mistake here, Sam, that could be, our winner from last week, Rob Lowell, he could be out of this thing. It's just that easy to do.
And if you're having internet issues, that was the big thing that hurt the driver that's currently in the middle of the field speed-wise, the 44 of Dustin Coggins. He didn't even get a chance to qualify because he had internet issues during qualifying that didn't allow him to set a time. That could be another thing. Drivers are feeling the stress because the next 5 laps, the next 5 minutes are about to set our field. Only 40 drivers make it in. Everyone will have 5 minutes to put down their fastest lap, but only 2 laps to do so. If you hit the wall, if you touch the grass, find yourself spinning out, there are ways to invalidate your lap time, which could cause you to miss out on the featured race here this evening. You don't want to miss a race, but hey, here is a positive, as all drivers have registered up that attempt to make the race running here tonight at Pocono. At least we'll get participation points, that will get last place points for the drivers that show up. All drivers that show up for tonight's race expected to get at least 26 points for themselves. So it's not the worst case scenario, but obviously you would love to make it to the actual event to earn more points. As the field's getting ready, qualifying's about to start, and we just had another driver register in. So 46 have registered, 40 make in, 6 get knocked out, and let qualifying begin. Fastest drivers from practice going to be Christopher Muse, Grant Humphrey, Jim Ott, Rob Lowell, and Mark Whitley. Your fast 5, can they continue on the speed without the draft help? And Zach, we now enter into qualifying again. All drivers given 2 laps to put down their fastest time, 5 minutes to do so. If you touch the wall, hit the grass, spin out, and that could invalidate your lap time. Only 40 make it in. But what are the key factors you're looking for here in qualifying?
Well, qualifying is all about no mistakes, of course, with this style of qualifying for sure, Sam. I think you have to almost drive at, the 98 or the 99 percentile. Don't drive to that 100 because the mistakes could be, a chance to get knocked out. Or you go the route of your first lap, you back it down just a little bit. The second lap, go for everything. So you can set the banker. But I think, again, the biggest thing is no mistakes in the qualifying is going to be key here. But the really most important thing for setting a great lap around Pocono is getting great exits. It's all about carrying the speed down these long straightaways here. You just see Mark Whitley coming to set his lap up. Look, he's going to run the line that you don't see a lot, the high side here in turn 3, and that is just to get the big arc, the big momentum, make that straightaway longer, and make that straightaway speed at the end of the straight much higher. So you're going to be able to find a little bit more pace going down there. So again, speed is everything here at Pocono. So those exits of these corners so critical.
Both ends of the grid going to be critical here for qualifying. You'll want to be up front, get the track position. It's going to help you for the featured race, but at the end of the line, who's in, who's out? First laps are clocking in for drivers as Mark Whitley in the 77, a driver we're expecting to be quick and upfront, challenging for wins this season. Driver who got into the league just wanting to challenge himself. Not really known when you watch Mark Whitley in leagues, known for running a lot more trucks and ARCA cars, getting used to the next gen, and that's kind of the fun of the 802 next gen elite series. It gives a chances for drivers to evolve in their racing as all these guys get in free registering. As Mark Whitley's first lap time, is it quick enough to be on top of the board? Doesn't look to be so. It's going to be Tim Rogers with the quick first time, as it's a 53.334 for Tim Rogers, as everyone else is now looking at the back half of those that have put down time. Arabia Caton the third, going to be the slow driver with Evan Faluka, as well as going to be Mike Presley, Luke Freeman, and Thomas Lavard, going to be the slow drivers that are on the chopping block. They need to find a quicker pace for lap number 2 as Grant Humphrey steals the top of the board for his first lap.
Humphrey was really quick last week at Michigan, making some big moves. So great to see him jump to the top of the board by just 1/100th of a second there. So close. Rob Lowell, last week's winner, he's going to jump up the third with Whitley there fourth and Chris Muse there running out the top 5. Is also Kenny Rill in the 11. He's going to jump up to P6 on the board. He had no practice time, so for Kenny here to put that time in, he should be very, very quick. And I'm pretty sure I've seen Kenny around the sim before. He's a very, very fast driver also.
He's extremely fast. And, we talk about I ratings and how that is a good experience level to see if a driver's been racing a lot or has been kind of in the newer stages. Kenny Reel, he is the highest I rating driver joining into the season with over a 5K. Everyone else, in most of the fields, around a 2 to a 3K on speed. Is Steve Ritter going to be now moving up into 5th place, but bottom half of the field, drivers that are in considerable danger going to be Evan Fuka, as well as Luke Freeman, Arabia Clayton, Mike Presley, Kevin McDonald, and going to be Colin Trebass, and drivers look to be off track for a few. Colin Trebass will not be running here tonight, nor will Mike Presley, Arabia Caton, Luke Freeman. They've already finished up their times and are out of this. Evan Fuka looks to be not able to put in a time, but Kevin McDonald snaking his way through, and that's going to push out the 55 from being able to make it in.
That was a great pickup for Kevin McDonald. I was watching that. He jumped from a 54.3 to a 54.1. That's going to put him 34th on the board for the time being at the moment. So this is going to push, like you said, the 55 of Thomas Lavard back to 41st, and that's going to knock him out for the time being because his lap is completed. And I believe Evan Fuqua, I don't believe he's out on racetrack.
He's not out on track. He's out. He's done.
Yeah.
Qualifying has set the field. And what's even crazier, Kevin Tipton, who was gifted the lead at Michigan after the black flags after that first lap, the 95 was just one position away from missing out race number 2. So Kevin Tipton locking his way in with some of those big markers all around, but qualifying officially done. 6 drivers will not be continuing forward. For us, we'll move into our 5-minute warm-up period last time for drivers to get practice, and as well will give us a period to set the stage for tonight's race here at Pocono for the Tricky Triangle 225. One race is already in the books, and that's Michigan. And that means not a lot is changing when you look at the points. Point standings are pretty stable on where they're at after the first race based off of their finishing position. But it is going to be interesting when we bring up the points on how the point standings work. It is not a traditional 40 to 43 points for the race that the driver that wins. It is 100 points for the race winner, and it drops down by 5 points each position for the first 10 spots. And then it's every 4, then every 3, every 2, every 1. It gets very complicated once you go through all the positions. But Zach, it's Rob Lowell with bonus points and winning top of the board on the points.
Great start for him, of course. There, always nice to start at the top of the board, but he'll have some heavy hitters here tonight, of course, trying to chop at his heels. But yeah, the points, we're going to learn them throughout the season, so everybody definitely take a good look here at these standings, because I can guarantee you next week when we head into these points will probably be completely different. They're going to see a lot of people possibly off this board, possibly new people on the board, so you got to stay paying attention throughout these weeks, looking at that board heavily to see where your favorite drivers are.
And there will be a chase later on in the season that we will then elaborate on. Top 15 make it in the chase, and we'll see how those drivers can evolve. But let's take a look at the schedule. We are following the NASCAR official schedule, starting from Michigan all the way to Homestead. So if you haven't gotten enough Pocono racing here tonight, you'll see some Pocono racing on Sunday. But Zach, Pocono, then instead of going testing out road course racing, we're instead going to be going to the 08 configuration of Atlanta at Echo Park Speedway, then Texas, Chicagoland. We're back at Echo Park for the actual Super Speedway current configuration before North Wilkesboro and Indy for the first 8 races of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun start to the season, of course. Here we're following the NASCAR schedule, other than going to San Diego and I believe a few of the other road courses. We're going to have a few changes there, but yeah, it's going to be fun to watch that. So you'll get to see these guys race here on Thursday nights before the guys on Sunday and race these same tracks. So it's going to be, I think, kind of a fun little mashup, and it's always fun as even a fan and as a driver to kind of be involved in these things, because it kind of feels like you're part of the event each week that they go to in each track.
Again, we do want to say thank you to Thomas Lafford, Colin Trey Bass, Mike Presley, Arabia Caton, Luke Friedman, and Evan Fuca, who will be missing out on tonight's race. But here's some of the key moments to watch out for here at Pocono. Zach, I love the first one, turn 1 drama on the start and restarts.
Definitely so. I think the biggest thing is avoid that down there, because we're going to see a lot of it. That is one of the key moments you're going to see all night. Is turn 1 is going to fan out 3, maybe even 4 wide. It could get 5 wide. I mean, it could be 6. It is such a wide front straightaway that anything is possible in these restarts. So again, avoid that turn 1 drama. You don't want to be involved in it. If your car's getting damaged, that's going to be a huge issue, because you're not going to be able to have the maximizing of the exits from your turns if you have that damage. So as number 2, you see the most important exit to maximize, though, is that turn 3, because of this long front straightaway we're looking at right now, Sam. It is so important. And then, of course, use the draft on the long straightaways, because this is what this track is all about, is speed. And I think all 3 of our things, other than staying out of the drama in turn 1, is all about carrying the most speed possible on these long straightaways here at Pocono.
It is a long track. You have to go around here 2.5 miles in distance, just 3 corners, and the draft's going to be key. Making sure you can maximize those corners. Tire wear is going to be a thing to watch out for. But if we get the timing of some of these cautions, could turn into a fuel mileage race if these drivers aren't careful. Again, thank you so much to all those that are joining with us. We see everyone trickling in here very shortly as we're about to get to the official racing action for race number 2 of the season here for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. 90 laps in total, no stage break, no fast repairs, just 3 extra sets of tires in pit road. And Zach, I think that's another thing to watch out for. If we get a lot of cautions, how impactful will those 3 extra sets of tires be sitting in pit road?
That's very, very, important part to be thinking about all night. And I think even night more than tires is going to be fuel. How can you play the strategy? What new windows will open up, and how will you attack it? Because definitely 3 tires in pit road is plenty to get this race done. So you're going to have some options available, so to say, where other weeks maybe you're going to be not considering that.
The field is set. Warm-up is concluding. All that's left is 90 laps here from Pocono. Once again, thank you to the amazing sponsors that are tagged on board for this season. Thank you to G-Stone Motors. G-Stone Motors, also our primary sponsor for replays. We also want to say thank you to BG Graphics. That is our yellow flag sponsor. We also want to say thank you to the iRacing League podcast for sponsoring the white flag. The One to Go, One to Restarts, sponsored by the Admin Box, and our post-race show, sponsored by Riptide Radio. Drivers are done with the warm-ups, qualifying, and practice, and 40 drivers get ready for racing action here from Pocono, and taking the top spot will be the 48 of Grant Humphrey. To his outside will be the 81 of Tim Rogers. Last week's winner, Rob Lowell, will be starting back in third. The 77 of Mark Whitley, not wanting to qualify deeper in the field, he'll start in fourth. Steve Ritter doesn't want disconnection issues this week, but what a recovery run he had last week at Michigan. He'll be starting up in fifth. Christopher Muse going to be starting in 6th with Kenny Reel in 7th. Jim Ott will be taking that 8th place position with Isaiah Sutherland making his debut here this evening in 9th. As another driver making their debut, going to be the 00 of Nate Brooker, making his top 10 start.
Starting in 11th, it's going to be the 88 of Kevin Roy with Johnny Barker, one of our winners from the preseason, starting in 12th in the 6th machine. Mike Kelly is going to start in the 13th spot with Chad Coleman in the 8th, starting in 14th. 15th is going to be Eric Jensen with Michael Wolf in the 5, starting in 16th. 17th is going to go to David Duran with Connor Patton in the 37, starting in 18th. 19th is going to go to Scott Simley in the 33, and rounding out our top 20 is Timothy Parker in the 18th.
All the way back in 21st, we find the 97 of Jeff Pogo. Watch out, that 97 will move up throughout the field. We're expecting big things from him. In 22nd place, will be the 26 of Josh Parker. In 23rd, we find Logan Troyer, going to be expecting to see how the 12 can march his way forward if he can. Another driver, these next two good ones to watch out for, the 57 of Jeff Gilmore and the 42 of Keith Ayers. They're both expected to get inside of the top 15 quickly. Chris Progard in the 7 will start 26th. 27th is Joe Hudson with Derek McDonald going to be in 28th, and Dustin Coggins in 29th. To finish out our top 30 will be the 71 of Brett Hahn.
Starting in 31st is going to be the 10 of Scott Dross with Devin McCaffrey starting in 32nd alongside him. 33rd is going to be the 31 of Daniel Holcroft. Kevin McDonald with that lap is going to get himself into the 34th. 35th is going to go to Tyler Humphrey. 36th is going to go to Matt Taylor. 37th is going to be Jonathan Smith. 38th, Ron Holyfield. 39th, Ty Dickerson. And rounding out our field is the 40th car is Kevin Tipton.
40 drivers will be racing here tonight. 46 attempted to make the race. But race number 2, the Tricky Triangle, certainly a track with plenty of different dynamics to watch out for. Each corner based off a different track. Each driver here tonight expecting glory. But let's see who can start out race number 2 of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series on the right foot. Pace car to pit road, restart zone, and we are green with Grant Humphrey and also going to be Tim Rogers roaring down into turn number 1. Back out the field having a little bit of trouble, but we're already fanning out. 2 wide, 3 wide. Find your opening. Let's go forward. It's Rogers and Humphrey in turn number 1.
Turn 1 already some drama. There's a little bit of beating and banging. There's Mark Whitley, I think, getting contact with the 21 of Lowell. There's 3 wide off the corner as Ritter in the 61 tries to make the move, but our front 2 are trying to break away as this 3 wide heading towards the tail turn. They got to sort this out quickly as Whitley clears.
A track that you don't want to be 3 wide in a turn number 2, and you're seeing everybody trying to squeeze into the right positions. A couple are going to be throttling up quickly, and that's going to be the 74 of Isaiah Sutherland, and that Jeff Gordon going to be Flames machine on the inside, making some big moves for himself behind. A little bit of contact going to be Brooker in the 00, trying to find his opening as they're still 2 by 2 all the way through from 8th place on back. But up front, lap 1, give it to Grant Humphrey in the 48.
Humphrey did a great job, jumped out here to a nice, clean, early lead for this field. And the top 3 are looking to just try to drive away as the rest of the field, really from about the 5th position on back, is still side by side for much of this group here. As we come off the turn 2 or turn 1 for the second lap, everybody fans out as they head towards the tunnel turn, because this corner, again, very difficult to run side by side, but running 2 wide is very possible. It's those 3 wide moments that you want to avoid.
Turns 1 going to be based off of the track of Trenton, kind of a short track. The drivers got to race back of the day. Turn 2 based on Indianapolis, and then the Milwaukee Mile type flatness here in turn number 3. Each corner so different on the amount of banking and help that you're getting to get around these corners. But currently up to 5th place is Kenny Reel, who's already up 2 positions. A couple of other drivers up big. Up 3 positions is Chad Coleman back in 11th. And up the most, going to be up Josh Parker in 17th place. The 26 up 5 spots here in the first 3 laps.
Great job from a few of these guys to make some moves. Here we're watching this group with Isaiah Sutherland on the outside in the 24. You also got the 8 of Chad Coleman right there. They had double zero, Nate Brooker. All these drivers stacked up right here trying to find the outside. You see how everybody fights the clear, then jumps up in line? That is all due to that draft. You want to utilize it down the straightaways, and if you're on that inside more than a lot of times, you're not going to be getting the draft. It's just going to be almost 3 wide off of 2, but they think better of it there, Sam.
There's so many opportunities now going to be seeing the 6 machine. That's Johnny Parker in that white and black, diving it to the inside, trying to get in front of Brooker, who will poke the nose for 3 wide for a second. But it's the 8 as well as the 6 back and forth as there's that machine on the inside. This is running on board with the 6 of Johnny Parker, and Johnny proving the dominance of Dover, has been trying to find that same dominance at every track so far, but doing a pretty good job just outside of the top 10. Watching their competition just really going to these corners. It's kind of interesting to see who's willing to pressure and kind of dive in turn 1 or any of these corners so far, and who's willing to back off and really accelerate off the exit.
It's always a huge thing, the driving differences when you come to Pocono, because you can kind of do multiple different things. I think there was a little contact. Mike Kelly almost made a little bit of a bumper contact to the 8 of Chad Coleman, who does a great job to save it there on entry. But that's just really because, again, what I was about to talk about is the differences of styles in these corners. You can kind of attack the corner somewhat, entry a little bit very much, and kind of utilize the car to get slowed down through the center and then carry that big straightaway speed. But then the drivers who kind of back it up are going to have that little bit of a run. So it's kind of the push-pull of which line works the best, who drives it in deeper, who drives it in a little softer to get the better run off.
Talking about the draft, we're going to be seeing pods of groups. We're going to do this long run, and there are no cautions. We're going to see drivers really start to break away from one another. If you stay side by side for too long, you could really hurt your group of drivers you're around. While our front about 4 all deciding, let's just pull away. Middle of the field's where a lot of this action's going down. Another newcomer making their debut joining this week. Going to be the 99 of Eric Jensen as the driver is going to be low and slow. That's Kevin Roy in the 88 that's going backwards as he's got a little bit of a tire rub. It looked like for a second as he locked it down, kept it off the inside wall. A big scare. And the 88 continues to roll on, and that could have been a lot worse if he let that thing roll all the way down to the inside wall.
Definitely so. That could have been terrible for him. Looks like he's going to go from the 11th starting position earlier, now back to P27. Now, he'll take that over a broken race car, but that's going to be a lot of lost track position for this 88 team that they're going to have to try to fight back, as he's got a group of Keith Ayers right there in front of him trying to attack the 12 and Logan Troyer right there in front of him. So everybody here all fighting for spots, as you see all the cars lined up down this back straightaway as they head towards the tunnel turn.
Get in line. Hopefully you punched your ticket. This train is mostly single file all the way through. A couple of drivers are still trying to make some moves inside of the top 10, and one of those being Isaiah Sutherland, and as well the 61 of Steve Ritter for 7th and 8th position. The 74 trying to rip the top to find an opening as he clobbers the outside wall. It's loss of slight momentum, but the 61 not fully clear. No bump draft down the straightaway to try to close in on the gap of the top 6.
Always love to see the working together down the straightaways from these drivers. Yeah, Sutherland there, a little scuffed up on the right front there from, I believe, getting into that wall. So, yeah, you know, these cars are tough. You don't want to do that too many times. You do it too much, you will damage that fender, and that's going to hurt definitely performance around these straightaways, where straight line speed is just everything around this track as we ride on board. This 24 is just in the battle ahead of him. Look at Jim Ott just getting a little tight below Kenny Reel, and even Reel's up ahead of him. He's got a little right front damage on that right front. Same for Ott. So a lot of these guys have been getting up into that wall, and a lot of times it is either off of 2 or off of right here, off of 3, because it's just how much flatter those corners are, in my opinion.
I mean, it's a little bit of a sensitive 2-car tango going on. You got the front 2, the middle is going to be a 3rd, 4th working together as well as 5th and 6th in line. Just get a little bit of draft help. Do you pass or do you stay in line and draft? And Isaiah Sutherland does not want to wait for Jen Mott. He'll dive to the inside of 74. He is on the go button. Up front, still Grant Humphrey, Mark Whitley. They are the two that are trying to pull away and are doing exactly what I think you want to see from front runners. They're not trying to push for passes. It's way too early for that. Instead, work with each other. Utilize the draft. Push each other down the straightaways. Trust that the driver in front of you is going to pull you along and break away from the rest of the field. And that's exactly what we're seeing from our front two.
Definitely so. And one thing I'm starting to see is Humphrey going to go wide here. It says it's going to be Whitley on the bottom. And I've seen people run this line that Humphrey's done here is a really wide arcing line just to get the really big run down the straightaway. As you'll see, he does clear again Whitley. But the one thing I've been watching with these two, that 48 is definitely pushing a lot tighter on the exits. That means his front tires are scrubbing a lot more, in my opinion. That's probably going to overheat those tires. And you could see, in my opinion, the 77 be in a better position to make a pass here soon because he just seems to be a lot more patient on the exit, letting his car not drift out as far, and it just seems much more controlled. So I think this 48 could run into some tire issues, but at the same time, that clear out front is so valuable. He's going to fight for it here.
We'll jump back to them because we have to go back to the battle for 10th place. They're 3 wide. Think about heading down into the tunnel turn, and there will be contact. Mike Kelly, big slide for the 22 Valvoline machine. He's heading down to the inside wall, and trouble afoot for the 22. He's broken and back up the track. Luckily, no one else hits him, but yellow flag is out as everyone scoots on by. And proving late, you don't want to go 3 wide. And the favorite from the preseason, 2 races in, and it's looking to be 2 DNFs.
That it is, and that was such a heavy hit here. We'll go back and look at it. As they're going to see down the front straightaway here, he's on the outside in the 22. The 51 gets the big run there on the inside of David Duran. He's going to make the move to the inside, and right here, the 61 is just going to get a little tight with that 51 on the inside of him. I think Kelly, was definitely very close to each other there, hits that inside wall, and from there he breaks that left front tire. You can see how broken it is. He's going to have no brakes pretty much from that point to stop there, and that's why his car comes veering back across the racetrack. Luckily, nobody else got into that, but just such a tough break for his 22, who had such a good preseason, and these first 2 races have just went upside down.
To see behind, big scare by a couple of these drivers just late squeezing through. One of them, the Harpoon Design 78 machine, was the one, the red and black. Had a big squeezing moment there late as he just dashes to the left, but it's going to be the 22 of Mike Kelly. Required damage, taking the tow. He's the only driver in that suit, but with us having this caution on lap 10, does throw out the options of we had some green flag racing. Who was burning up those tires and who further on back might take the strategy call of using a set now? I think that's going to be the fun choice of some of these drivers at this moment is how do you already change up the strategy, or do you continue racing on as Mark Whitley and co? Are they officially going in? And Mark Whitley is pitting.
Yeah, this is an interesting strategy coming down right here. I'm almost thinking that this opens the door with how many people are starting to peel off here and come down. I really think this might open the door for a one-stop strategy, because right here, this would set you up with about 80 laps to go in this race. That means you're going to have to stretch to fuel about 40 laps around here. I think that is very possible, for sure. So I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people take advantage of this opportunity to come down. I think that Kenny
Sutherland missing. He missed it completely, was the 74. As Whitley and others topping off on fuel and getting back out on track. Gonna take a look at a couple of other drivers that are having longer stops than just the 6 to 7 second pit stops that are happening for just fuel. One driver stayed out there for 14 seconds, which is the traditional zone of taking tires. Johnny Barker in the 6 did take tires. So the 6 taking tires, the 37 looks to be of Connor Patton. Might also be a driver deciding to take tires. So take a chance, take a gamble. Hey, why not do it? I think the only problem is you're only a handful of drivers that are now outside of the top 20. They're going to have to make all of these passes and basically use up what you have before you really have a chance to break away.
Definitely so. I mean, this will be interesting for people who took tires. I think it's a risky call. From what I've seen in the past here at Pocono, at least with this next gen car, really in the past few, I'd say over the year, it has really been a car all about tire temperature. And I think here at Pocono, yeah, you're going to see some tire wear, but if you get these cautions, if you get these kind of lulls in the runs, the tires will very much cool back down, very much come back into the range. And I think you're going to see tonight, if anything, the most fall off you'll see from some of our top drivers is probably going to be around 0.8 to a second. Not really our normal 1.5 seconds that we see at some of these other tracks. I think you'll see a little bit of a less drop off here, which can have still effect. I mean, it's definitely a factor, but at the same time, I think it's going to be very much a race of track position, and sometimes tires are not going to benefit you.
For all those that are just joining with us, this is our first official caution of the day, as you just got to be a part of our first BG Graphics caution. We also got to see a couple of G-Stone Motors replays, and we are on the admin box 1 to go. A couple of drivers topping off on fuel, going to be Joe Hudson, as well as a few drivers that were given black flags due to speeding off pit road. Connor Patton, who took tires, as well as Kevin Tipton, who took tires, all will be sent all the way outside of the top 35. So gonna have a long journey here on this upcoming restart. But thank you to everyone that's joining with us. We got plenty of racing action still for the whole entire season, as well for this evening. And if you want to be notified when we are live, to be here a little bit sooner for the pre-show, you can go hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification to be notified when we go live. And also remember, the best way to support us, to let us know that you're enjoying the show, hit that like button and comment in the chat if you're able to. Who are you rooting for? Which driver are you wanting to see get into victory lane or have a good race here this evening? Zach, we're about to go green, but what are you expecting here on this upcoming restart?
Well, I'm interested to see how these drivers who have lost a lot of track position are going to rebound. You know, we look back to Mark Whitley. He was in the lead. When he pits, he's going to restart back around 19th. So it's going to make things very, very interesting, Sam, to see how they can gather back through. And maybe the decision to stay out was the better call, just to stay out of the mix.
Mike Kelly still out of this race, so 39 drivers are stacked up, ready to get back to green flag racing action. Pace car to pit road, entering the restart zone. Let all 39 engines roar as Grant Humphrey, the best launch you could have asked for in the 48, is already clear by over 3 car lengths. The rest of the field, they're starting to scatter, they're starting to fan, and here we go down into turn number 1.
Always wild stuff. Is it was so close there, Jim. I almost had contact from the 44. The 45 with Christopher Hughes. The 45 was lucky to keep it off his quarter panel, and they gathered down the back straightaway here 2 by 2.
And that blue and yellow 51 of David Duran going to be the driver who is really putting the pressure on. I was watching out on that initial start. Thought about making the inside lane work, but not able to carry the momentum as well as he was hoping for. But Humphrey and others doing a great job on. Could also go see Muse side by side deeper in the field. They're also 2-3 wide. Everyone looking for their early opportunities. These first couple of laps after a restart, the initial start of the race, your best chance to grab multiple positions. Oh my goodness! Dustin Coggins into the pit barrels. And what a horrific contact for the 44.
That was so violent there. I mean, that was, I don't know how his car is in one piece here, but somehow he is still sitting here. I think, yeah, he's going to have to tow, because I believe that probably expired the motor more than anything. It was such a heavy hit here. As you see contact there from the 88 as they come off the corner and just into the pit barrels at a tremendous amount of pace, and yeah, destroying the left rear suspension and blowing out his engine too.
And another driver hitting the dust as Dustin Coggins looks to be out of this one, as the whole entire rear axle just slamming into the pit barrels, and there was nothing he could have done about it. As Kevin Roy bouncing into the 44, and just like that, I mean, those are the type of wrecks that you know are possible at Pocono, but you never want to see. As here's a right along with the 44 now. He was just on the inside, having a clean run, and next thing you know, those pit barrels are calling.
Just such a heavy contact. There was really no time for him to get that car slowed down enough to get away from the barrels. That was just unfortunate, wrong place, wrong time for the 44, and really nothing the 81 or 88 even did too wrong. It was just contact made. They're off the exit of 3, where we see a lot of times that 3 wide racing can equate to that. And next thing you know, you're in the inside barrels and your race is over just like that for that team. But we'll see what this caution does. Does it make other drivers want to come down this time that didn't pit before? I think if you stayed out before, Sam, you're most likely going to want to stay out here.
Yeah, but if you already pitted and you're outside of the top 28, all those drivers already pitted from 28th on down, I feel like those are the guys that you should expect to hit pit road, top off on fuel. You really aren't losing that much, and just get your service figured out, as that is another BG Graphics caution flag being thrown. And your G-Stone Motors replay. Think of the G-Stone Motors if you are out in the Vermont area in Middlesbury. You go check out and see some of the best places to find vehicles. Whether you are looking for work-ready trucks or performance vehicles, trust the team that supports racing in the Northeast for generations. Visit G-Stone Motors in the Middlebury today, Vermont area, where you're not just a customer, your family. We also want to say thank you to BG Graphics. Again, if you're looking for some graphics, either logos, iRacing team logos, or if you're looking for racing winning posters, you can get them scheduled out and ready. Head on over to facebook.com/BG Graphics. That's 2 X's instead of a C at the end for graphics. And if you reach out today and say, hey, we saw you on Freaky Fast Broadcast, you can get 10% off on your next order from BG Graphics. Dustin Goggins officially out of this race. Mike Kelly sits in pit road and is just waiting to see if the required damage flag will go away. We're not expecting it to do so, but 38 drivers still out on track. Service going to be called for at least our 29th on back, which those were the exact drivers I was expecting Zach to hit pit road just to top off and get ready for this restart.
Completely agree, Sam. You hit the nail on the head with that assessment, because yeah, there was really nothing for them to lose if you're farther back there. It really just gives you excess fuel to have even better strategy, in my opinion. So it very much, I think, a good decision for a lot of the drivers who did that. So we'll see how that does work out, and if we get a long green flag run here to the end, this is going to be interesting with strategy. With the cautions we're getting here too, I think it's putting in the playbook of these guys who stayed out a question for them to possibly even save the fuel to make that the one-stop strategy work. So this is going to be interesting to see how they can play that out in their playbook. But I think you're also going to see a lot of other drivers frantically trying to drive up back through and get that track position back, because again, we talked about it, it's just so valuable here in Pocono.
You want to get up front, you want to race aggressively. How can you get into victory lane? And one driver that I'm expecting a big push to get up to the lead position as soon as possible, Rob Lowell. Every series I've watched him, I went and did a little bit of scouting, watching Rob's personal channels on where he live streams, where how his races are going in all the leagues that he runs. Rob is notoriously known for pressing forward, get to the lead position. He wants to be in control. The only problem is sometimes it's the strategy calls that kind of catch the 21 off guard. He's opened the call to stay out and not pit, which is what all drivers inside of our top 13 have done. None of them have decided to hit pit road. From 14th all the way back to 25th, have at least topped off on fuel 6 laps ago. And then from 27th on back, all just topped off right now. But I'm curious for Rob and everyone else up front, how can you settle in for this upcoming restart, knowing that you're in the spot where you don't have as much fuel as some of the other guys that just topped off do?
It does put you in a weird, awkward position, especially they know the strategy better than we do up here. They have their fuel all calculated, and hey, some new iRacing UI that's going to also, I think, help some of the drivers when it comes to fuel strategy. I just think that's something that we haven't had in iRacing. So if anybody's out there not familiar with that, we just got a huge iRacing update, just this week, and they brought a new tools in for us drivers to be able to utilize, such as a track map to know where your competition is, and some fuel calculators to help you do the math while you're in the car and give you that precise data that you didn't have before when you're driving.
I can tell you, as a guy who is an avid, having a track map out there, it helps avoid so many wrecks that are going on up front, and I hope that helps some drivers avoid some ARCA breaks. With a fuel calculator, there is so much information that you can collect. iRacing's done a fabulous job on trying to give drivers as much data to work with when you're racing and crew chiefing on your own. But the drivers up front, We've got a total of 38 ready to go. Green flag racing into the pit road will be the pace car. All 38 drivers in line. Green flag is calling. And here we go for Grant Humphrey, Lot Rob Lowell, and everyone else behind as we dash into turn number 1. And we're already fanning out slightly further on back. 2 wide, 3 wide. Who will force it 4? And who's going to use each other up as we head into turn number 1?
I tell you what, after a couple restarts, the leader has done such a good job of Grant Humphrey to have great launches each and every time, and he's left the field in the dust while they've been back here battling. As you see drivers scrambling across the track there. That's the Ford Gemini. He's trying to make a move maybe on the 81 of Tim Rogers here as they head down to the tunnel turn.
As everyone's trying to find their opening to sneak forward again, everyone up front on old tires. So there's a little bit of feed and pain further on back, and oh no, trouble off the exit of turn number 2. Even more trouble as they pile up off the exit and onto the short chute. As this is going to be the 72 on screen, but 78 on our ticker. That will be seeing Jonathan Smith with a big slide around, but a few other drivers tacked and spun for themselves. Zach, which maybe was going to be just a 2-car incident, now turned into about a 5-1.
Yeah, it all started around the 57 of Jeff Gilmore, the 6 of Johnny Barker, as they were heading down from turn 1 to turn 2. They got a little feisty racing off here in the tunnel turn, and I think you're going to see 72 on the screen, but 78 on track of Jonathan Smith there. And yeah, that was the later contact there with the 57 and the 6 that took out Jonathan. A few others kind of came in here a little later, and then 2 more got spun too. But you see here, Gilmore was trying to cover off that bottom side, but Barker was kind of already there. The contact was made when they squeezed each other, and then from there, Jonathan Smith kind of like the odd man out that unfortunately is involved in the 2 drivers ahead of him's mess. But I think it was, I believe, like the 95 or so, or 94 that was spun around up ahead of these guys.
As we'll see again, and the reason why we're seeing this aggression by the 6 of Johnny Barker, he just took fresh tires. Everyone else around him have only been topping off on fuel. So the 6 was trying to press forward, but then it will be the 95 of Kevin Tipton and the 33 of Scott Simley. They make contact between one another, and that was from the 57 of Gilmore tapping another driver and accidentally giving a tap to the 33 of Simley, and everyone tacking along. Here's going to be another look at that second incident. Again, heading into turn number 2. All the drivers are going to wreck in front of them. Then it's the aftermath. The drivers trying to get by. They'll get collected for a second incident, and bam, there's the 22 coming on in.
Yeah, the 95 there, the 33, just unfortunately caught in the mix of that too. So, it's such a giant field, 40 cars. That's one thing I think we got to stress to everybody. When you have 40 cars out here in sim racing, we expect some contact and some incidents to be made. So it is very much to be thought that's going to happen. But these drivers here having some new laps here to focus on their strategy is going to be interesting because we're having more takers, and I'm not surprised by that. Again, might as well, if you're farther back in this back half of the field, come down, get the fuel to have, possibly a different strategy available.
We see Cody Reed out there in track. Pocono, yes, that's where we're at here at the Tricky Triangle 225. Under another caution here this evening. I know we've had a batch of people coming in and out of tonight's race, but if you're just joining us, let's take a look at the weather and how that's been maybe influencing some of these drivers' aggressions, as it's been a cool track so far. 71 degrees is the ambient temperature, 82 is the track temp. Humidity's a little bit high. The wind is gusting over 14 miles per hour, but at least it's in a one direction and staying pretty stable. As I say that, it drops to 13, but Zach, not a bad track temperature these drivers are dealing with so far here tonight.
No, for sure. This is good conditions once again out here on the racetrack. Anytime you can have it underneath a 90-degree track, it's going to be gripped up pretty well. So these drivers are going to feel that condition for sure. It's also going to be, I think, the tire wear not be as bad either. So I think your fall off won't be as dramatic. So we'll see how that affects the drivers who've stayed out, how it affects the drivers who've decided to come back here and take some tires.
And with us being 20 laps in, let's bring up our race report. As again, this race has certainly had its highs and lows. Already 2 drivers officially out of this race. We've had 3 cautions so far, only 2 lead changes, and just swapping back and forth action between Tim Rogers and Grant Humphrey. But everyone else has been pretty stationary, has been moving back and forth besides Grant Humphrey that got the pole and has been staying up there. But the 2 drivers we've lost, Dustin Coggins and Mike Kelly. from our featured race as we are being given the one to go presented by the admin box. Zach, certainly a race where we knew there was a chance of a lot of cautions coming out. You don't like to have an average of a caution every 10 laps, but the way Pocono's just designed, the way these next-gen cars work, there's always a possibility of it being more cautions than just one every 10 laps.
That is for sure. This place is so wild. I mean, that's why we said number one key here for tonight, avoid the turn 1 drama. And usually the turn 1 drama kind of trickles down to turn 2 and turn 3. So I think that's why you see sometimes a lot of contact and a lot of racing hard and side by side, just due to the factor of, you know, you get the draft, you're very much together for a majority of the race, and makes things very much close-knit, so to say, between your competition.
As the drivers are still pacing around, about to get to racing action, we want to say thank you to Brentley out in chat. Hey fellas, hey Brentley, we love to see Harpoon Designs out in chat whenever you get to see the Harpoon drivers running. Traditionally, it's Mark Whitley, Jonathan Smith. They've got a couple of other guys that are part of that team, and they're always competitively up front. The question is, for Mark Whitley, he gave up being in the top positions to then have a better strategy on fuel. At 77, went from being inside of our top 5 to now in 15th. We'll see how well he can try to escape away from the danger, because it is about to ramp up. The field heading into turn number 3. That means we're about to get back to green flag action. Still our top 10 yet to pit. We'll see when they decide to make that first pit stop of the night, or can they save the fuel to turn this race into a one-stop. Most of the rest of the field looks good on where they're feeling fuel and tire-wise, but we are green once again for Humphrey, Lowell, and the rest of the field. Has a great launch for those that are on the inside. Rob Lowell better watch out. Coleman looks good as they're fanning out into turn number 1.
That they are fanning out once again, but Humphrey did a great job once again to get a good start, but Ott was able to stay closer. But you can see Lowell on the outside, Chad Coleman on the bottom. They're going to clear each other and be single file for our top 10, but it's 3 wide in the background, as I believe that's for the 12th position there, with Scott Dross, Michael Wolf, Mark Whitley also trying to fight through, as Isaiah Sutherland's trying to come in on 24.
It's a little bit of bully ball going on. Drivers are muscling their way to keep positions. They don't want to wreck their competition, but they do want to make a sign, as Mark Whitley, Sutherland bump drafting their way on the inside groove. Drawson stuck in the middle, and they're going to be almost a stacked 4 wide, as they're now going to be 3 wide exiting out of turn number 3. This is all battling outside of the top 10. Watch out as they exit the corner. Ritter, Dross, Sutherland giving us a show, as up front they are still single file out, but man, is this fun to watch as these drivers recognize you got to take every position you can, and Sutherland takes the opportunity.
That 74 sending it down to the inside, and all the 10 going to get tight there, have to back out of it. Now he's going to have the 23 come by him also, so you can see how big one little lift can do. You can slide back and lose multiple spots, as now he's going to have to even be looking from the 18 who's coming to take a look.
Trying to take a chance. It's going to be Timothy Parker in the 18 machine, as well as Devin McCaffrey. McCaffrey, one of our bigger movers, as well as Tipton, who qualified 40th and then 895. Also caught up with an incident under our last caution. Only 40 drivers made it into this race. 46 attempted to make the running of the Tricky Triangle 225. And Tipton was that last driver to get in as our leader up front. Old 24-lap old tires just set the fastest lap of the day.
That's what I'm saying. These tires cool down. The track starts to cool down. More rubber lays down the racetrack. Everything becomes better for those older tires. So the staying out might be a benefit for the time being, as Whitley still back mired in that 13th position, as he's not even the first car that made a pit stop. The first one who's made a pit stop is up to 10th. That is going to be the 00 of Nate Brooker.
Nate Brooker doing a great job for himself in the 00. He's trying to find an opening to maybe dash to the outside, as got a great battle between Eric Jensen and Jeff Hogo that are going against one another. Inside going to be the 99 of Eric Jensen. And will we see 3 wide? We will. Nate Brooker not having any help for himself. He'll be stuck in the inside. Major side drafting between the 99 as well as the 00, and that will actually hurt both of them. The outside groove, they get passed by 2 drivers.
Man, oh man, yeah, that is a great job by the 99 or the 00 there to make the pass on the bottom, because That is so tough to do. Usually that's the car that goes backwards, and it was actually the 99 who did the going backwards there. So Eric Jensen now under attack as he's going to have Mark Whitley, also Kenny Rill in the 11 looking to go around the outside as they go into the tunnel turn, and everybody's stacking up here as this is the group that's trying to fight back through that Vardy pit.
Made their pit stops, used their tires, and the 23 of Joe Hudson trying to find his way to maximize as he's the first one up who has already used a set of tires for himself. Back in 18th position and watching all the action in front of him is where all this madness is going down. There's the 23 who was trying his best to move up, only 9 positions up from where he's at. But Zach, you got to give credit to those that are up front. Our top 4 in line with one another, and 2 of our top 4 up double digits from where they qualified, being the 8 machine of Chad Coleman and also the 51 of David Duran that are up big for themselves.
They've done an excellent job for sure to be 3rd and 4th for the time being for that group. As we check up here to this front group, and you can see they're all stacked up on top of one another. The top 3 have got their Jim Ott is caught up into 4, going for a move on the 48. He's going to make it stick. The 48 fights back there on the exit. He's going to get the side draft on the corner, and now he's going to pull forward here down the front straightaway. But can the 4 pull alongside here, keep the draft and keep the side draft? He does, as they're going to fight towards turn 1. Sam, this is going to be the goal for Jim Ott, is to clear here and get this job done.
And you got to give credit for Chad Coleman. He really had an opportunity. Could have dropped it all the way to the inside and maybe force a 3-wide pass, but instead backs off, thinking about the tires, thinking about the long run. Doesn't want to force the issue just yet. But the 51 of David Duran, I think that's the driver I'm most concerned about. What will that 51 try to do here? Because seems to be a little bit more antsy than some of our competition, as Ott goes extremely low on the apron. Big loss of momentum, and here we go, the 51 slashing, dashing ace to the lead. Rob Lowell also sneaking through. It's just a big loss of time, and another driver finding opening. It's Josh Parker going 3 wide in a blink of an eye from 4th to the lead, and your top 2 before are now challenging for 3rd.
Insane racing here at Pocono, and oh man, Ott putting this door right on the 48 as they're beating and banging down the front straightaway here. That's a very close action for sure with that aggressive side drafting as Ott tries to go back to the inside, and I think he's not going to be too happy. I think that 48 really packed the air on the rear end there down into the tunnel turn. He almost tried to close the door on there down here down this straightaway, but I think he's going to try to get back in line possibly here as he's going to have the 8 of Coleman now fight to his quarter panel, and just shows you get stuck on that bottom. Everybody gangs up on you and tries to go around your outside.
How big a loss of momentum. These straightaways, you can gain and lose so much. And in a blink of an eye again, Duran leads, Lowell in 2nd, and the 2 drivers are battling for the lead spot. Now ride in 3rd and 4th place. Josh Parker now into the mix for the 26 machine as he'll drive around the 8 of Chad Coleman, or was attempting to. Big loss of time off the exit turn number 3 for that 26 machine. But you can see the train. And we're right back to single file action. And Zach, I mean, there was so much. That tunnel turn just proving, even the short shoot, that small straightaway, you can lose a lot of time.
No doubt, Sam. Yeah, it is so critical here at Pocono. So many places that you can lose that time and lose that momentum that, I mean, you've seen it. It all stacked up in one instant. I mean, Lowell went from 5th to 2nd. Duran went from 4th to the lead. It is very much critical for that. Is now Ott, I think, again, taking an opportunity possibly to look at the 48, but just wasn't able to get there yet. But yeah, I think a few of these guys really trying their best to get away. But, looking back, the drivers really who took the tires or who hit pit road, sorry for that fuel, mostly have not really made up any ground.
Made up ground, but maybe that's not their strategy call at this current moment. It's just continuously save fuel. And for those that did not pit, we had 3 cautions, a lot of pacing laps, and save a lot of fuel. Duran trying to defend for the lead position. We're on board with the 48 in 3rd place, looking back for the battle for 4th position. But for those that pitted, that's Michael Wolf that's leading that charge. Mark Whitley, that's 9th, 10th. They're still attached to the lead pack. And that is a huge positive for those 2 drivers. Nate Brooker's kind of lost a little bit of time. Kenny Reel, we are expecting big things from the 11, but he runs in 12th place. They're all still within draft distance to get a little bit of help on saving fuels as well as having some quick time. So I would say watch out for the 5, the 77, 00, and 11. They're the ones that I've got circled up for the long run of this race, but in the short term, man, have the top 6 put on a great show to start things off.
No doubt, yeah, they really have. It's been impressive to see. And I mean, the guys like a Josh Parker, a David Duran, and Chad Coleman, they've really come through the field, so to say. So that is impressive for that grouping. As we check back here to this is where Nate Brooker, Zach Kenny Real, Keith Ayers, a lot of these guys have done also a great job of getting their way up here. I mean, Ayers is up from 25th to the P13. So just really some of these guys utilizing a lot of strategy to get here in position, now having to fight their way to keep it.
See a little bit of action side by side further on back in the field. This is action happening in between Joe Hudson and Jeff Gilmore. Gilmore caught up in those earlier incidences. Another driver ahead of him, that's going to be seeing the 37 of Connor Patton. Patton showing off some new colors for himself as the 37 going a little bit wide at times, as well as seeing Timothy Parker having their runs. But seeing the packs in the field starting to move around now, and talked about different pods of drivers. A lose touch the lead draft, and really starting to see them be a lot more defined on this run compared to the previous runs, which is kind of shocking to those that pitted already. And they're all still staying attached to one another. No one's really pushing forward. And looking at the lap time, Zach, I mean, everyone's not really putting down as fast as the 51's lap times have been.
That's for sure. Yeah, the 51 is flying. I mean, 53.49. We're 32 laps in this run here as we're watching Scott Dross there. He just, unfortunately, got a little tight there in the tunnel turn. That's going to allow, I believe that's Derek McDonald in the 72. He's going to look up the inside and go by. Also going to have the 12 of Logan. Troyer he's going to have to back out as Matt Taylor and Ron Holyfield all did a great job to miss that as Dross there really came down and kind of squeezed that grouping as it was 3 wide very quickly.
That 10 machine of Dross stuck in the middle, and usually when the front half of the pack single filed out, the back half is where all the action is. That's why we fell back to see what was going on. Here is going to be the 67 of Ty Dickinson, who's just having a run back in 33rd place, up 6 spots, qualified 39th, and having any type of positive gain from where you qualified. You know, maybe some of these drivers just hit their minimum to make sure they were in the race, and this is got to be a good feeling for those that make it into a 40-car field. You really never know if you're going to be one of those top contenders competing for the championship, but just having a good race is a good thing to have for yourself. One driver, though, big issues on the front stretch. 00 of Nate Brooker. Very slow. Troubles off the exit turn 3 and massive loss of time as he is slowly rolling down in turn number 1.
He was fringed right there of the top 10 and now going to be back, like you said, outside the top 20. So he'll have Kevin Tipton, Devin McCaffrey right here behind him. So great loss of time for that 00 team, but more or less still in the race. We've seen a few others go down low, get loose, get into those inside walls. He did a great job to stay out of all that mess. So he'll be trying to make back up some time from all of that. But I tell you what, it is still very much interesting to see how all the strategy is going to play out. As I think Mark Whitley, he's starting to take his time to try to make a pass on Michael Wolf, but you also even have, I believe that was Josh Parker trying to make the move on Jim Ott. So a few drivers in this line here starting to get a little antsy and trying to make some moves.
Race 2 of the season. We're still trying to get names in cars, and everyone's changing their schemes each week, it feels like at times. So it trips us up. Mark Whitley in a 77 Harpoons design, trying to find a way to get by the 5 in that green and blue machine in front of Michael Wolf as you hop on board the 77. I will say, a look back at the issue for Nate Brooker. Turn 3 went too low, touched the rumble strips, it got the rear end loose, snapped loose, luckily kept it from hitting any of the inside or the outside wall, kept rolling, no damage, just a lot of tire wear on the 00, who again runs in 22nd position. But Zach, riding on board with Mark Whitley, I mean, this is the fun of next gen racing. Each track we go to, I feel like we're going to talk about it. We're seeing shifting going on, 4th to 5th, and here we go, about to shift up into that 5th gear.
Definitely going to see a lot of this utilized this season for sure at each and every track. But more importantly, here at Pocono, it is a ton used. As you're going to see him drop at the 4th gear here, try to get that car rotating into that 4th gear, that lower RPM, and now back powering down the straightaway. Not even shifting the high gear yet. It just shows you how long that gearing is, and it's just going to slowly pop it up in the 5th gear here before he heads to the tunnel turn, and should have the prime position to make the move on Michael Wolf. But will the 5 be able to hang on the quarter panel? That's the key. Is Whitley's done a good job, but the 5 is able to fight back, and it's going to be tough here down in the 3. This flat corner, he's got to clear him. That's the key. You got to get the person off the quarter panel if you want them to be able to make the pass. But the 5 fights back as the 77 drove it in deep, but it was the 5 who got back to the quarter panel. But Whitley gets it done on the exit. That was a great pass from him, and that is important because now he can set his sights up to the 97 and Jeff Pocono.
And that was just one of so many different passing positions that were going on. There was even a pass for the lead of Dave Duran and Rob Lothar turns 2 on that last lap. Duran survives for now with the 21. Just looks a lot stronger off the exit of turn 1, heading into turn 2, but there's a big swappage of time. Then behind them, Pogo and a couple of others are thinking about going 2-3 wide down into turn number 1. We stay on board with the battle for the lead because Lowell has been fighting. He's been trying and almost using up the 651 and will put him close to that outside wall. He's slamming it as just utilizing and using up each other. It seems to be the game plan as Lowell, big diving move. Watch out for this big run off the exit turn 3.
He's been doing this interesting line. Oh, he's going to glance off the wall there. That's going to lose a lot of speed there for him, so he's not looking as big a run as he was planning. But yeah, Lowell has been looking very, very strong here. He's been trying to make that pass, but it's so tough. You have so many aerodynamic features at play in this next-gen car. When you get side-by-side, both cars are going to actually tend to get aero tight when you're side-by-side, especially the closer you get to that door. It really, you don't have to touch someone nowadays. When you get close to them, it almost just shoves them up with the air. So you got to really be planned about how much room you give and how much you crowd somebody, because quickly you can be not even making contact but still putting them up into the wall. As you see again, Lowell making more contact, and that's something you're going to see. If that continues, he'll have an issue. But look at there, Jim Ott trying to fight Humphrey Bad. As this whole group is just really feisty right now, trying to keep track position before we get to pit stops.
The dogfight is on, and it's the race to halfway at lap 45, or will they go out even further than that? One driver going to be slow deep in the field and going to be trying to maybe get into pit road with the 78 of Jonathan Smith, as no caution is thrown. But we keep the action and the camera set here on Jim Mott and Co behind, because we saw the passing being made 10 laps ago of drivers just blink of an eye, bad run off of the exit turn 2 when you're losing 3-4 positions. There's just a sense that's starting to build out that somebody is about to make a mistake up here. The question is, who is it and how many positions will be gained or lost in this mistake? Could it be a pit road mistake? Is it an on-track moment? Zaggy, is just a sense out there on track that everyone is worried while also trying to just stay close to the lead pack.
No doubt, Sam. Yeah, everybody is definitely trying to stay with the pack, but they're also trying to make passes because everybody's starting to get to the phase that, in my opinion, this the tires are hot. They're starting to push a little bit, tougher and all night long, because right now it's about that 0.8 of a second fall off range, right where I was feeling we were going to be right there throughout majority of the night. And this is, again, you feel like the car is driving so different, but you're really not running that much slower. But it definitely feels a ton different when it comes to the driver's seat and things. So that's where you're seeing a lot of these drivers struggle, miss the corners, have opportunities to get side by side. But once you get side by side, the pass is just so tough with all the drafting, all the side drafting. It is just a very critical part when the pass is done, and it could lead to contact for sure.
First green flag pit stop underway for Steve Ritter deeper in the field, but for the pass for the lead. Another challenge for Rob Lowell. Does he have the run? Does he have the speed? They stay side by side. The 21 trying to side draft as much as possible to keep the 51 close into turn number 1. Grant Humphrey doing the complete opposite, ducking to practically the inside wall to not side draft. And Lowell, what a diving move, but here we go. 51 gasses it up, and the crossover down the long pond straightaway as they head to turn number 2.
Look at the side draft there, trying to get him back, but he just couldn't pull the 51 back. The 21's got to settle in here as they head down to turn number 2, but for the time being, Lowe has been so feisty, so quick. Can he get back alongside? He looked for a moment there down the short chute, but he's going to slot in here for turn 3. But a little contact even into turn 3 there, and now he's going to run up the racetrack and almost make a little contact there. So close between those two. It's hard racing, but here comes Chad Coleman in the 8. Jim Ott's going to have a run. This is going to stack things up.
And for Rob, I mean, he went through that whole entire, so we're going to go 3 wide. Heading into turn number 1, Jim Ott, Coleman back and forth for themselves. Who will take second? It's going to be Jim Ott for now, as Rob Lowell trying to fight back with the 21 after the initial contact into turn number 3. Immediately over the radio was saying, I didn't mean to do that, but because he was so focused on apologizing, he almost completely dumped the 51. And now Rob Lowell is just floating backwards, and he's got to be careful that he does not get pushed around into the outside wall because everyone's losing touch, and Coleman's got to be careful as well.
Oh man, Josh Parker, he's going to make the move to the outside of the 8. Now he's going to jump up the 4th. Everybody slipping and sliding, trying to find positions here late in the go. And you see Mark Whitley in the background. He's dove up the inside of Jeff Pogo, and the others are pitting up ahead of him. And this is interesting. They won't be able to make it. That's not halfway, and this is going to make things very, very close for all the grouping.
And again, it throws in the markers of those that stayed attached to a front pack that already topped up on fuel. That's Mark Whitley, Wolf, Kenny Reel. They're the ones that are in the real good spot of knowing they've got enough fuel to at least make it to the halfway. The question is, how much further can they go? As David Duran, Jim Ott, Rob Lowell, Josh Parker, as well as Tim Rogers, Jeff Pogo, they all have yet to pit this race. Keith Ayers back in 10th position, yet to pit as well. Eric Jensen back in 15th, still has yet to pit this race. They've been out there for this full 43 laps. When do they pit is the true question, because some of the drivers that already topped off, they're making the call to head to pit road. Ott, also Lowell, Pogo, they head in now.
And look at that. That is very interesting to see, because I tell you what, with it being lap 44 here, if you're the grouping that did pit, you're going to want to, at least in my opinion, get to around lap 51, 52, just to give you some safe room, because we've had some caution laps to allow them to possibly go that 40 laps, you know, on a run. So if anything, this has got to be the run, I think, where you save some fuel possibly, and we'll see how it works out. But Durand out front, he's been doing a good job. He hasn't pit yet. Same for Parker, same for Rogers. But I think this time you're going to see Parker coming down. He's already calling it out.
Already calling it out, Tim Rogers. He's trying to call over the radio that he's heading into the pits, but he's being surrounded by those that topped off. Finally getting an opening is the 81. So here's Parker, Rogers about to head into pit road. Does Durand follow them? The 51 does, but he spins in front of the group, heading into pit road. Ooh. Contact is made as they're wrecking into the pit entry. Parker avoids, as well as Rogers, and Durand from the lead to throw it all the way in a blink of an eye.
Just like that. That is so easy to do. These pit roads here, very bumpy, very short entry to pit road. It comes up on you quickly, and that is a mistake Durand is going to wish he had back. Same for Josh Parker. I think he's going to get some contact out of all that, as we're going to go back and look at that all. But man, oh man, Sam, it just shows you got to stay on top of every little thing. Durand has been excellent throughout this whole race run.
I know we're looking at a replay. There was contact between the lead positions. Kenny Rogers was trying to take the lead spot, as this will be your G-Stone Motors replay of the 51 sliding into pit road. Contact made, and then spin it back around and get rolling. Big loss of time. Luckily, also no black flag given to the 51, so he's able to just race on and carry forward. But there was contact between Kenny Reel and Mark Whitley. Reel heads into pit road after a big slide for himself through turns 2.
Very interesting to see Reel coming down here at lap 45 of this run. This is interesting, unless, you know, they're thinking fuel is not going to be an issue. I would have expected Reel to stay out longer. He pitted, 30 laps ago, where some of these guys went 35. So he was in a better position than anybody because he topped off. So very interesting to see that 11's in the pit road here. I would figure you stretch it as far as you can here.
You would expect that to be the case, but not going to be. Mark Whitley, also going to be seeing Michael Wolf. They continue to stay out. Also Tyler Humphrey and everyone inside of our top 20. When will they make their next stop and potentially final stop of the day? Because each lap that ticks on, you got to feel for Jim Ott, also Coleman, those that have already pitted, because they're just banking on this race to maybe get a caution, get them back into the mix. But you kind of need the pit cycle to finish out before that caution flag comes out.
You really do. Yeah, that's going to make things very difficult for sure. But let's see how this all shakes out, man. I like the positioning from a few of these guys who've topped off. I mean, You got the likes of Jeff Gilmore. He's only pit 27 laps ago. He's our farthest up of that grouping. And, I mean, if he's able to make it to the one stop and others can't, he is in position possibly to win this race.
So many dynamic moments. Other drivers that pitted on lap 27. Going to be David Holcroft back in 13th place. It's a little bit further back than you would expect. Kevin Roy back in 16th. He is going to be under pressure here shortly from those that have already made their pit stop, as there's Holcroft in the 31 having his run. Also, other drivers that are trying to have some good runs. We haven't really shown off a lot. 18th place, Ron Holyfield. He's up 20 position, qualified in 28th place, continuing to run well. And one of those drivers that pitted just a couple of laps before others, as one of the drivers that pitted on lap 27 now hits pit road. Logan Troyer back in 19th place heading into pit road. That's kind of a shocker for the 12, who I thought was actually going to stretch it out a little bit further.
Yeah, I'd say so too, Sam. Yeah, I'm questioning a few of these drivers, but they know more than us. They got the fuel calculator now. I'd imagine they're able to really make those calls from the seat of their pants a little bit easier. So we'll see how this works out. But I definitely like the case for Mark Whitley right now. He is going completed 48 laps now, as the 81 has come to pit road, and it looks like he's got a black flag for Tim Rogers there, so speeding for him.
Speeding on pit road, that is a 40-second hold for Tim Rogers. That is a miserable spot to be for a driver who was running up front at one moment during this race, qualified second, and was slowly trickling backwards. That is a terrible spot for himself to be. Connor Patton also going to get service done for the 37. He was inside of the top 15 when he made his stop. As we continue to keep our eyes throughout those that are inside of our top 18. When do you make your stop here that potentially could be your last of the day, officially into the second half of tonight's running of the Tricky Triangle 225 at Pocono Raceway? Just the second race of the season. Next week, we head to the 2008 configuration of Atlanta at Echo Park. That one is going to be a blast to watch. I think the 2008 Atlanta, doesn't matter what car you're in, that brings out the best out of every driver, and that's going to be a fun one you do not want to miss. And then the race after that, we head to Texas. That is the current configuration, Texas, Chicagoland. And then July 9th, we are going to be having the Echo Park current configuration. See how the drivers can handle that, as that is your future of races that you'll see here on Thursday night. And seeing a couple of drivers, we bobbing and weaving. Jeff Gilmore, Joe Hudson, as well as Nate Brooker, going to be in line with one another. These are battles for position between the 57-23 and the 00 lingering just behind. Is Hudson going for the big slider down into turn number 3?
Big move there for sure for Hudson there, as he's going to go up the inside of Jeff Gilmore, but Gilmore going to be on about 8 laps newer fuel than him, so we'll see how these guys work out their pit stops, as now they're coming there to complete lap 50. And I like that, Sam, because, again, that means, right now, for Mark Whitley, he's went 40 laps, but we have had 2 cautions in between that phase to help them get there. And that's the reasoning why I think, if anything, if you can get 2 more laps out of this thing, you are going to really be in a better position for that, like a 38-lap flag run to the end, if anything, to save maybe a lap or 2 of fuel.
Trying to find your openings. How can you stretch the fuel out? A couple of drivers, though, their evenings look to be done and dusted. One of those going to be passed on the inside. The 6 machine of Johnny Barker, required damage flag placed on the 6. And I believe it was from contact off the exit of turn number 1 for himself, as just running aggressively and getting some contact. We will send it to pit road for the 6 machine. Other drivers have called tonight. Connor Patton in the 37. Once he went into pit road, he has left the server. So you hate to see that for some of the drivers, as that will leave us with 37 still out on track. And the wall has taken probably the most abuse here tonight, is seeing Pogo and a few others going back and forth between one another.
Definitely some great racing going on back here, and these are drivers who have made their green flag stop. They're about 40 seconds off that lead back here. Is it's really interesting to see how once it all cycles through where they'll be as they're coming up to Scott Drost here. He'll be letting these guys by as he's a lapper in position. But man, this is going Going to be an interesting one once the way it shakes out, Sam. I'm very interested to see where some of these guys are, coming out near each other really with time, because I think a lot of them won't be able to make the one-stop strategy, but if anything, they can affect those one-stoppers where they come out in their time of where their race is going to end up.
One of the drivers we expect to be one of the first to hit pit road will do so, and that is Michael Wolf in the 5 machine. He was second before heading into pit road. And that is a good calling sign for everyone that's inside of our top 17. We are within the next 3-lap window, expecting all these drivers to hit pit road. And it's about to get busy. We already saw in our first green flag pit stops a couple of the front runners having mistakes. Pit road is a troublesome spot just to get in the pit entry. You don't even want to get caught speeding. But Zach, we saw the 51 go for the big slide. There was a couple of reasons on why that could have happened. But man, certainly you don't want to be sliding on entry of pit road and lose too much time.
No, that's for sure. Yeah, pit road is very dangerous, and it's kind of like it catches you off guard. That line kind of starts a little earlier than you expect with where that, and also it's very bumpy down there to pit road. So you got to be very, very careful, in my opinion, and it's made for an interesting scenario. And we'll see now how this all shakes out, because I think you're going to see a lot of people come down. But here, Joe Hudson's on pit road. He's got a pit road penalty, so the 23 is sped.
He certainly does. Black flag penalty for Joe Hudson, as he's have to sit in pit road for 40 seconds. So instead of a great run for the 23, he'll have to sit in pit road and watch the competition drive on by. Mark Whitley still waiting for whenever the 77 will hit pit road, as he continues to stay out. But is this the calling sign as he is staying low? And it is. Whitley into pit road. Tyler Humphrey going to be the next driver still out on track. He's showing signs to pit road. Timothy Parker will stay out. No surprise. He's one of those drivers that pitted 39 laps ago. And that was under our very last caution we had.
Definitely going to see how far they stretch it. And if anything, if Whitley coming down right here, 54, that's kind of tells me that we can go a little bit, we can definitely probably go to that 40 mark, if anything, a few laps more, because really you're only saving about a half a lap when you're under caution. So if anything, I think this is kind of boding well for a little bit of drivers who couldn't make it as far as we thought there. So we'll see how this works out. But Whitley getting service done. Same here for the 9. He's coming down off of pit road or into pit road. So we'll see how drivers are going to shake out here once it all settles out.
It's still waiting for a handful of drivers to finish up on this cycle. Scott Simley going to be back in 10th place, getting service, expected to get service done. And then as well, going to be everyone in the top 6 that still needs to make a pit stop here tonight, as everyone is ripping their way through. Certainly has been a night where early cautions were the big thing of note. But since we've been green flag racing, drivers have been playing a little bit more nicer around one another. We're still waiting for Timothy Parker, Jeff Gilmore, Devin McCaffrey, Chris Progo, as well as David Holcroft, Kevin Roy to make their stops, as well as Scott Simley. And the question is, who can make it to the end and who will be forced to pit road? Because there's a handful of drivers that we feel like are good to make it to the end, but there is quite a big field that we believe still needs to do another stop after that grouping of drivers just called out need to make their potential final stop of the evening, as Parker now heads to pit road.
Parker here coming to pit road, so we'll see how far did a few of these other guys go, because Jeff Gilmore, like I said, he's one of the ones who has the most fuel in the back pocket. He could probably go at least another 4 to 5 laps here. We'll see when he comes down, but I don't think he needs to wait too long. I think the longer he waits here, the more that it's going to stretch the gap out for him. So he probably, now that, kind of guaranteed window to make it, I think he should probably come to pit road.
I'm curious on if the reason we're seeing some of these drivers stay out as long as they are is because they're expecting to maybe not be in the draft. Maybe the draft was one of the factors that helped them stretch the fuel out. So staying out longer, there are the positives, as seeing Jeff Gilmore continuing to stay out, as well as McCaffrey, Progrard, as well as Holdcroft and Kevin Roy. When will they make their stops here this evening? Jeff Gilmore staying low and heading to pit road is the 57. Devin McCaffrey stays out in the 29. Will now lead a lap here at the Tricky Triangle. But Zach certainly, everyone's trying to find their footing on what is the right call, as Daniel Holdcroft also will head into pit road this lap.
A lot of people still yet to come, but we'll see when they do. That's going to be the big question for everybody. But as it's all cycled, so to say, it's definitely an interesting scenario. I mean, you know, the likes of Kenny Real, he pitted pretty early. Same for Jim Ott. Those two, they're way up the road from a few of these guys. But I think Chad Coleman's going to be the first one of our drivers who have hit a green flag stop to where their own racetrack. So he's coming off of turn 1 right now. For like the likes of Mark Whitley, he's going to be coming off of 1 now. So it's going to be about a 4-second delta between that grouping, where I don't think they'll be able to make it on fuel, but Mark Whitley should be good to go in the 77.
McCaffrey heads into pit road, and Chris Progrard as well as Kevin Roy going to continue to stay out as they are the final 2. And over the radio, Scott Simley, who runs back in 10th place, has been having a rough one. He as well will be getting service done here as he heads to pit road. But Progo, as well as Kevin Roy, they were trying to fight back and forth, but it's Chris Progrard, that continues to stay out the 7. I mean, he could stay out even longer if he really wants to. This is kind of incredible to see how long these drivers are going, but also waiting for the potential of a caution if that might come out.
And I mean, if the caution comes out, that changes everything for sure. So, I mean, hey, you could definitely look to do that strategy of stretching a little farther to see what we get here. Because, say, if we get a caution, majority of the field's going to come pit here and put tires on, because they're going to reset and re-rack everything. But we'll see how it works out. Progar continues on, and he's got about an 18-second gap back to those drivers. And we saw a few of the drivers go about 44 laps on a tank of fuel. So he's got about another 5 laps technically he can do.
When will drivers make their final stops of the evening, or can they take it to the end? And over the radio, trouble for the 7. Chris Progrard has ran out of fuel. He didn't even make it to pit road. And that is the worst case scenario for the 7. He was trying to utilize the draft and just didn't even realize he was going to run out. He just was shocked over the radio that he ran out of fuel, and now we'll have to limp it to pit road. But Zach, the fun of Pocono, sometimes when a driver's on the apron, it will throw a caution. So now our hands are up in the air. Does Progrard make it, or do we get a caution?
This could be close, because I mean, he's already down the 50 mile an hour. If he can get to this access road up here at a decent pace, he'll be good. As long as he's pushing the clutch in, it should roll good. It's done a good job of keeping the speed, and yeah, he's done a really good job of keeping pace here. And I think we should be able to stay green for the time being. But Progar in a tough spot there, Sam. The only thing I can think is he is one of the drivers who pit, that very last caution we had, and it went fully green. For him, he had no yellow flag, so to say, to save fuel. He went 39, almost 40 laps. So that, again, I think shows that's about the distance you can run on a tank of fuel under green flag conditions. And, Progar going to be in a tough spot to get back to his box. He's about 30 miles and a couple 100 feet still to go.
And if 39 is the money stop, that would mean everyone that pitted about 9 laps ago would be good, which puts everyone that's in our top 6 currently outside that window, as well as 8th place runner of David Durand and the 42 of Keith Ayers. Those drivers are outside of the window of making to the end. Eric Jensen in 18th, he's outside the window. Ty Dickinson's outside of the window, as well as Matthew Taylor. There's a couple of guys throughout this field that are probably banking on a caution to make sure that they're still within a chance for a good running. Everyone else, they just got to make sure you save just enough to make it to the end.
That's for sure. I think the only person that's going to be feeling really confident so far in the top 10, other than Michael Wolf, would be Mark Whitley. I mean, that's really, everybody else is going to have to pit, in my opinion. Whitley's sitting here. He is hoping no yellow flags. That is going to be the biggest thing I think on this guy's mind right now is please keep this green. If anything, I played this perfectly, and I should be able to cruise to a victory, in my opinion, if this stays green. But we'll have to see. I mean, if anything, we get a yellow flag. That changed the whole perplexion of the game, and we'll have to see how it shakes out. But I think the 77 team has called this perfect because, I mean, you know, he went about 44 laps on that tank with the cautions that we had. It put him right in the range to be inside of, 37 really to go. So that was a great job from that team, and I think he's got plenty of fuel to go to the end.
It was a changing up just from that 10th lap caution. The very first caution of the day is when the strategy call was made of we're going to hit pit road. Gotta ask for a little bit of help on if we can make it to the halfway zone, and it did work out for the 77. And now the question looms of who can make it to the end of this race on fuel. We know our top 6 can't. The question for them is, do you just stay out until you run out of fuel to bank on a caution? Because if you pit, you're surrendering. If you stay out, you're hoping on luck to be on your side.
No doubt. Yeah, I think you definitely got a few people who are on the hoping side right now for things because they know. I think the dread of, oh man, I kind of played this wrong is kind of sinking in for a few of these guys. The closer they get to that window of where they're going to have to pit, I think a lot of them will be about 10 laps, if anything, short of making it to the end. And
there's
there
a
it is,
caution,
yellow flag.
throw it all away, and it's trouble for the 23 of Joe Hudson, back in 31st position. All strategy calls are out the window, and it was the 23 right in front of Mark Whitley that will throw every fuel strategy out the window, and we're about to have just a straight brawl to the end. And here will be your G Motors replay as we get a BG graphics caution here late at Pocono.
Yeah, that's interesting scenario there with the 23 right in front of the 77. And I hate that for Whitley that this caution's come out, but it almost I believe with him learning still this next gen car, this is one thing he's going to learn is if you get that close right there and kind of pack the air just like that on the car. You see he got a little loose one time, and then the second time was just not enough to catch it. And I don't want to say that is Whitley's fault because he never even touched him. He never even got even that close. But this car, you can easily, by driving in just a little bit on the back bumper of somebody, and it's even sometimes within a car length. It's crazy to say that it doesn't even take that close. But if you get there, it just loosens that car up in front of you, and it is almost impossible to save. And for Hudson, he couldn't save it. And right there, Whitley's saying, no, please don't bring a yellow out. And then you see the yellow come out, and it's got to be heartbreak for him.
Yeah, not intentional trying to arrow grief, but arrow griefing has been played. And now the field, everyone is expected to hit pit road if you haven't already in the last 5 to 10 laps. I think those drivers maybe have an opportunity to stay out if you're Mark Whitley and co, because we've seen drivers, we had that 10 laps to start the race off and all the cautions built out to where even if you didn't pit 20 laps later, you still were able to put down the fastest laps of the day. So we might see Mark Whitley and a few others stay out. It's everyone else. Pit, tires, fuel, get back out there and get yourself ready for some racing action. And here we go. Everyone sending it to pit road. And another question, who takes 2 tires? Who takes 4? It's going to be less than 25 laps to go when we go green. And here we go, Zach. The strategies are on the line as Jeff Gilmore stays out, Devin McCaffrey stays out, and a few others making the call that will shake things up for everyone that just hit pit road.
Oh, this is definitely going to shake things up, and it's also going to allow others to come back in. The drivers who thought they had no opportunity, weren't able to make the one stop work. Now they're in position to make it to the end of this race and fight it out. It's going to be a straight brawl. There's a wreck on pit road. I'm not sure what car that is, but there's somebody hard to the inside wall. I think it might have been Christopher Muse.
A couple of drivers that are trying to get themselves rolling as quickly as they can. And contact made all around. As drivers were trying to leave pit road, get into their box, but trouble striking as the field gets ready for more racing action. We are actually going to take a quick break here. We need to just get our voices ready because I feel like we're going to get a lot of yelling and screaming here in these final 25 laps here this evening. So we'll be back right after this for some more 802 Next Gen Elite Series Racing. Race 2 is about to conclude. Get ready. It's about to be a shootout here to the end. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the chaos to ramp up. Your top 4 are on old tires, repeating and banging already as they're sending it down into turn number 1. Devin McCaffrey, he took off too soon. Black flag for the 29. He's gonna have to serve it. Jeff Gilmore could be taking the lead down into turn number 1. The 29 is trying to plead. Please get this black flag off of me, but they will remove it. Gilmore taking the top spot with older tires.
Yeah, they're not going to, I don't think, remove that. Like, he just got going a little bit too fast. I don't know if Gilmore spun the tires, but it just stacked things up, and McCaffrey jumps out there. He's got a black flag. I've seen also a black flag for Rob Lowell.
Rob Lowell trying to find a way to get around all these drivers, but the 21, he took off too soon to be a penalty. And now it's up to the front runners who can find the footing, as now multiple drivers have to go into pit road to serve a drive-through penalty. The 29, 21, can you get to the inside? Not going to be the case for Devin McCaffrey. Lowell was able to because he had space. The 29 was stuck 3 wide on the outside, and he has to go another lap before serving this black flag penalty. And Zach, he only has a couple of laps before he might get disqualified.
That's right, and he's got to find a way to get to the bottom, and it's going to look tough here with everybody just going around the inside. This is so tough to do, but here comes the cars, and just car after car going to the inside just makes things so tough, Sam, as I think he'll have an opportunity here now. It's on turn.
He certainly will, and drivers on fresh rubber are trying to make some big diving moves. A few going for the big lunge. Seen Isaiah Sutherland and a few others, but up front, it is action for the lead. Steve Ritter in the 61 finally pouncing to the inside. Slightly fresher tires than Gilmore, but those that already pitted, it's Kenny Reel in the 11 leading the charge. He took 4 tires, and he is moving forward. Also going to be Michael Wolf, who took 2 tires up to 4th, as Devin McCaffrey was finally able to get into pit road.
What a job by Kenny Reel. He's got himself in position now to be the first driver on those fresh tires, and ahead of him, Jeff Gilmore. He went for the opportunity in the 61, but he's going to lose momentum. Here comes the 11 down the back straightaway. He's going to look for the run and try to make the move as they head to the tunnel turn.
And just a blink of an eye for himself, the 57 from the lead back to 3rd. Just a corner and a straightaway, and now going to be seen behind them. Wolf, others, they stack off the exit turn number 2. Drivers now going to be stacking 4 wide, trying to make a pass as they're going to be heading down into turn number 3. Everyone scattering for positions. Heavy damage for someone further on back, but up front, just everyone scattering with contact being made through turns 2.
It was Jim Ott there who was the driver on the very, very inside on the apron. He found what I like to call the motocross jump down there off the exit of 2. There is a nasty bump on the apron, and when he found that, he launched into the inside wall. So the 4 is on pit road. Jim Ott, once a contender for this race win, out of the contending now as you look at the 51 of Duran. He's trying to find his way back towards the front end of the field after spinning going into pit road. The 51 had so much speed. Look for him to climb his way back through.
Top 4 pulling away almost a second and a half ahead of this pack that we're watching on screen, and that pack being led by Mark Whitley, Jeff Pogo, as well as Nate Brooks. As Pogo into the outside wall, not going to be forced 3 wide, heading down into turn number 3. It's Isaiah Sutherland in the middle, as well as Duran on the inside, trying to make a pass 3 wide outside, looking for a run, as it was hard to see what's going on. It's just so much action happening back and forth between these drivers as there's still 3 wide heading into turn number 1.
Side drafting aggressively on each other. I mean, they are leaning on each other multiple times. And you see the 74, he looked to cover off the 51. He kind of had to dodge that for a second as it's getting aggressive. Here comes Grant Wilfrey, our pole center in the 48. He had a ton of speed earlier. He's coming with a big run here now to turn 2. It's going all off here down Pocono with less than 30 laps to go.
Less than 30 laps to go, and Steve Ritter has been tossed to the side. It's now down to experience between the top 2 as more drivers further on back going for all the action, as it is seen Humphrey as well as Sutherland back and forth. Big block by Sutherland. He doesn't want to let anyone get by. That's just for 9th place. These blocks are happening, and there's still less than 20 laps to go. It's about to be 18, and your top 2 drivers, Zach, I talked about the iRating experience of Kenny Reel. Chad, going to be Coleman. He's up there as well as a 5K driver. The experience level has ramped up, and our top 2 have really been the cream that rose to the top.
They have. Yeah, Kenny's looked really, really quick. He's was fast there in that one phase of the run. He was battling with Whitley, came to pit road, and got on the other strategy. Is played out now where he's got the track position over the others, but we'll see how it works out. We see Christopher Muse in the background. He's in the 45. He's trying to dive through, but there's some contact there. I don't know if that's Devin McCaffrey or that was Timothy Parker there in the 18. So yeah, that's contact there in the third turn. Just multiple drivers trying to make that 2-wide pass. It's so tough to do though, Sam.
They're trying to make all the passes that they can and get further ahead of seeing Timothy. Other drivers, Josh Parker, Holdcroft, they're going back and forth. You got to remember, we got Holdcroft as well as Ritter, Gilmore. They're on old tires, about 10 lap older tires than most of the field. They're trying their best to defend for these positions, but as the run progresses on, those older tires are going to be hurting way quicker than those that have already made their stop. But our top 4, they look good to continue to pull away, but Nate Brook is starting to latch on to some draft. That 00 is about to be pulling along the whole entire second pack here, and we might not just see a 4-horse race for this lead. We might add a handful of others that want to get in the mix before this race is over.
That's for sure. It's all going to be on the hands of this 00. Can he get closer? He's about 7/10 off the back of Jeff Gilmore, and I can tell you down the straightaway he's going to start to get a good draft. Being right in that range. Whitley's about another half-second back. He's got Pogo right on top of him, so that just shows you everybody going to start to stack up. I think we have 4 broken away for the time being, but that's going to start to add to the numbers. I think at some point we're going to be up to 10.
And problems for the 26 of Josh Parker. Looked like he had made some contact that might have broken either a wheel or suspension. There was no required damage flag, but the car just wasn't driving right. He drove right into pit road, took the tow, and the 26, he's out of this race. He's calling it here early with 16 laps to go. As the drivers inside of our top 10, they are still making every move possible. Grant Humphrey, Mark Whitley, back and forth, but Mark Whitley, the lead driver of those that took 2 tires. I don't know if this 77 is maybe the biggest fan of the call that he made. Maybe he was expecting a few more to take 2 tires with him.
Definitely so. Yeah, he's seeming like he's struggling a little bit right here because he's just dropping right back into the clutches of these drivers, and with it being 15 laps to go, definitely don't want to be dropping back here around 9th, 10th range if you're only going forward. He's only losing time for the time being, so we'll see how Whitley can gather it up. It was looking like a win possibly for him, but now I'm going to have Duran go around the outside on his quarter panel. He's got to settle in here for 9th.
And also report in the chat for Brentley, who also loves spotting and watching how the 77's doing from Harpoon Design, saying he hit the wall. So I'm not surprised by that. The handling just didn't look the same. Yes, he was running similar times to our leaders, but just one mistake, just proving it can throw away a run as the 77 runs in 9th place. But Kenny Reel, Chad Coleman, Steve Ritter, I mean, you got to give credit to Ritter and Gilmore that have still been able to hold their positions. And a big credit goes to that turn 2, just a clog up of everyone just getting stacked on top of one another. This has allowed the 61 and the 57 to still be in our top 5, but this is still impressive by the both of them, as they better be careful because Brooker, Pogo, Humphrey, they're getting into the mix, and the top 5 is about to get a little bit more mixy.
Definitely having a few drivers get up into that mix. You also got, we were just watching there for a moment, the 31 was coming up. Daniel Holcraft, he's broke his way to the 13th, but look at this. Pogo's gotten to Brooker, and so has Brooker got up to Gilmore. So this is going to start to stack up. They make contact with the wall. This is what we're going to see, I think, for a lot of the laps here to the end. These drivers are going to be all out, willing to get into that outside wall, just trying to make some time up.
And that was Durand in the 51 behind him that slammed the wall. He was not making the corner one bit. It was a very shallow entry, a little too high at the apex of the corner, and just hit the wall dramatically. Somehow was keeping it pretty deep close with the draft help. But I think the 51 might have been his last Hail Mary throw with these laps ticking away. Still seeing all the different lanes being utilized from these drivers. But David Durand, this has been a fun one for the 51. He's really shown in his debut race for this season. This is going to be a driver that, there's a couple of leagues where you see a driver, his driving style, maybe a little bit more aggressive than those around. I'm going to be a fan of Durand in the way that he tries to develop throughout the season. As Mark Whitley, as is Sutherland, they're having a little bit of a fight back and forth behind him, but oh boy, look at these 4 contact picks saved by Brooker. Grant trying to come free, finishes the job. Another caution and another set of tires maybe to be grabbed by the field.
Ooh, I was saying I don't know how he's counter steering that car that much. These next gens, I mean, it is so tough to, once they get sideways, you got to kind of gather it up and stop gathering it up, because once you go this back forth, kind of, the fighting the tail end, at some point the front tires grip, and you see it right there. As soon as the front tires gripped, when you can make that command to go right, it goes right, and it ends in a hurry there for a head first hit. And the biggest thing for him too also is he is going to be luckily not getting hit by anybody there. So that was good for everybody else to miss that incident. But you can see a little bit of contact there from Humphrey.
A little bit. A couple of drivers had a big scare for themselves, but able to sneak their way through. And now the challenge of who pits, who doesn't pit under this situation, as this is another BG Graphics caution flag being thrown. And thank you to G Stones Motors for being our replay sponsor, as the 00 is out of this race and done. Here we go, Zach. This is the calling time. Pit road. Do you pit or not? Old tires versus new. Kenny Real and a lot of other drivers. This is going to be their 4th pit stop of the day, but their first one for a lot of drivers was just for fuel. So they still have one set left. And with this being probably a 10-lap shootout, do you want the tires? Do you not? And it looks like it will be Gilmore and everyone else deciding that maybe didn't run as quickly as they wanted with fresh tires. I feel like this is their better opportunity. Get a little bit of freshies and see what advantage you have for the end of this race.
An interesting call for these guys to hit pit road. I'm on the fence on that one. I think the call to stay out would have been the way to go, especially with some of these drivers farther back staying out. I mean, you're going to see the likes of, I believe, these drivers starting around the 16th spot or so when they come back from pit road. I mean, it's going to be a long way for a few of these drivers to get back up into the mix. So I'm interested to see how this works out for a few of them, Sam.
I'm giggling just because I see who's running in 7th. That's Isaiah Sutherland, again, a debut race for the in the 802 Next Gen Elite Series for that 74. But we've seen Isaiah race in other leagues. He's already proven it here tonight. Willing to block from any position he's in. Even if you got fresh tires, I think we might see a wreck from Sutherland just trying to block somebody. I don't think this race is over just yet. If you haven't already, let's hit that like button if you've been enjoying the show here for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series. We'll be back next week for more racing action, as we'll head to the 1.5 mile racing at the 2008 configuration of Atlanta at Echo Park Speedway. Other racing action that we'll have here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We got the Lone Star iRacing NASCAR iRacing series on Monday night. Just a couple of races left before the season is over. They just got done with a very long Bristol race, and we'll see who can take the points lead or expand the lead after the upcoming race on Monday. And then Tuesday, first race of us covering the BRB Sundance Pizza Pro Series. We're excited for season 6 to progress forward as they're about to hit the halfway zone. It's going to be at Rockingham in the ARCA car on Tuesday nights. Certainly a lot of fun racing action we have here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, and it's Zach and myself that's on the call for all 3 series.
That it is, Sam. Yeah, it's going to be really fun to have everything up and running. And, man, I can't wait to see how that all works. But got them double filed. Lights are out on the pace car. We're about to finish this night out here, man. And this is going to be some of the most stressful times for all these drivers. I think you got to nail your restarts. You got to have the best start of your life here, especially if you're up in this top 5, if you want to go fight for a win. And if you're Kenny Real, I think you just got to do what we've seen, the likes of Grant Humphrey do earlier. Just get a great start and try to get out there and control this field.
Thank you to everyone that is joining with us. It's gonna be less than 10 laps to go here tonight. Looking at where drivers are at. Your top 13 are on old tires. Now, old being 15-lap old tires. Half of those drivers took 2 tires under their last stop. Everyone from 14th on back, 4 tires and fuel, getting a little bit of damage repair A couple of those drivers might be questioning why they head into pit road. Mark Whitley, long stay for himself. That contact with the wall, over a minute and a half that he had to stay in pit road to get that damage repair. Same for Eric Jensen with extended time in pit road, and Scott Simley. That's 25th, 26th, 27th runners. But up front, your top, again, 13 drivers on old set of tires. This is going to be the fun. Who can climb their way forward? Who's going to stay up front? Is it the experience of Reel and Coleman? Or can someone try to steal the show? It's time to find out who's winning the tricky triangle 225. Is it strategy? Is it pure speed? Let's find out. Pace car heads into pit road, and that leaves it in the hands of Kenny Reel. Coleman, rest of the field's ready to follow in suit. Green flags out of the air, and the 11 with a good launch on the outside as they roared in turn number 1.
Kenny Reel doing exactly what he needed to do. He clears the second row, and now he'll be able to look in his mirror as they fight from behind him. But it's going to be single file for majority of the field, as the first battle is going to be around that 10th spot. It's going to be Matt Taylor trying to fight off that.
Having a chance to fight forward. Big runs also going to be happening for third place. It's going to be Jeff Pogo trying to get by Steven Ritter. Also another guy who looked just a little quicker on that restart, going to be Michael Wolf, who looked pretty good for himself in the 5 machine. He took 2 tires under that pit stop 16 laps ago, but there is still a lot of time to build up and go. Steven Ritter on 22 lap old tires. You can see deep in the field, they're 3-4 wide back there. Drivers who took fresh rubber trying to emerge forward. Rob Lowell again had a black flag under the last restart. He was all the way back in third, outside of the top 30, now trying to emerge forward to get all these positions back in 17th place. But Zach, those that are up front, Kenny Reel, he's almost got a half a second gap over Coleman.
Definitely so. Kenny's doing a great job out front right now. Exactly what he needs to do is he's watching the drivers behind him really have to fight there, as it's the Coleman in the 8 who has Pogo behind him, but it's Steven Ritter who has Michael Wolf and Grant Humphrey battling down the back straightaway here. This is the first battle we get to see, but it's going to be Humphrey around the outside of the 5.
Humphrey has been looking good. Grant has been spectacular here tonight. Grabbed the pole to start the evening off, and he has been inside of the top 10 all night long, now trying to get himself back into the top 5, and he's done so already. Now the question is, can you fight for a top 3 before the evening's done? The drivers outside of the top 15 are still side by side, fighting back and forth, as here's going to be the battle just outside of the top 5. It's Sutherland and Wolf side by side. Sutherland on the outside, Wolf on the inside, and they're going for a big dive into the inside first corner, as the 5 has to back out. Instead, it's Timothy in the 18 with the big run for himself with that purple machine.
Big dive for a few of these guys. It's all hard into the outside wall. I believe that was the 15 of Matt Taylor there, who's now
trouble.
The wreck.
Multiple drivers going around, and that will be the 29 of Devin McCaffrey stuck in the outside wall with Ron Holyfield, as drivers were scattering around trying to avoid the 2 that make contact off the exit turn number 1. Could have been net code. We're going to have to take another look at this G Motors replay. And no, that was pure contact made by the 28 into the 29. And everyone else further behind him able to avoid. And that's going to be putting us inside of the regulation green-white checkered potentially here, Zach. Look at how many laps are left in this race.
Definitely so, and I think right here you're going to see that 28 just kind of hook left there late on the exit of the corner, and sometimes you get a little spooked from that wall, getting a little close, and you keep a little too much wheel in that race car, and I think that's kind of what happened to Ron Holyfield there. Just a little bit too much left turn in that car, and kept coming down until he hooked that 29, and unfortunately for McCaffrey, he's going to get spun across his nose like that and carried down this straightaway, but we'll re-rack him, get him reset, and Kenny Reel going to have to do the same thing he did before, Sam. Have a great restart.
Have a great launch and take off and go. Those that took tires under that last stop only able to move up to 10th and 12th place. That being David Durand in the 51 and 11th, and Christopher Muse in 12th position. So not a lot of gain spots with the fresh tires that you were taking. Was maybe hoping for that race to go green to utilize that fresh tires, but just not the case, as the field is getting ready for the decisions here, Zach, of how do you want to really set up this run? It might be a 4 to a 3 laps to go before we go green here, and then it's a shootout to the end. Everyone knows they're going to be going scattering 2, 3 wide, maybe even 4 or 5 into turn number 1 and turn 2. I mean, if you're one of these drivers up front, what is even the mindset to attack? Because it looks like this is just down to our front 3 here, unless no one can catch up to Real in this first lap.
It's such a tough position because you want to go for the pass, right? But in my opinion, these drivers are going to have to almost be on more of the patient side for the pass and go, not go for the first run you get. If you get a chance on Kenny, he's most likely, in my opinion, going to defend the outside. I think you never want to go up your right rear quarter panel. If you give that up, you're pretty much going to give up the spot, in my opinion. So if anything, you got to be willing to get to that outside of somebody, but it's such an awkward move. A lot of times the pass is always so much easier to make when you go to the inside of somebody. It's just the preferred way to do it, but it is not here at Pocono. You get that side draft, you get pulled back when you're down there, and sometimes just being a little too greedy, going for the pass a little too early can lead to those spots where you get alongside, but you just never get the pass done, and you actually lose spots from the drivers behind that have the momentum. So I think patience is going to pay off here, and sometimes even settling will be the better position to be in here if you want to have a good finish. So watch for the drivers in the top 5 to make big, diving moves. But if you make that move, you better clear, because if not, you may be going backwards on the straightaway.
You got about 8 drivers that have had to call it a night here this evening. Scott Dross, Nate Brooker, Josh Barker, Jim Ott, Joe Hudson, Johnny Barker, as well as Connor Patton, Dustin Coggins, who had that horrific wreck on caution number 2 of the evening, and Mike Kelly. All have called it a night so far. Still in pit road, getting repairs done, is Devin McCaffrey, who caught up in our most recent caution of the day, as well as other drivers that are getting repairs done. Mark Whitley trying to get his repairs, as well as Scott Simley. Drivers up front that are inside of our top 10, they're the ones that stayed out. And Zach, that was kind of the talking point of the caution before this. When drivers went into pit road for tires, was that the true right call? Because we've seen older tires be the better, able to stabilize for at least 10 laps before the heat truly was differing between these cars. And it looks like exactly what we were worried about for the drivers that pitted. That reality is hitting as we are getting the 1 to go, and it will be a 3-lap shootout for this upcoming restart.
Yeah, the one thing I looked at was lap times when we took off there with the older tires. The fastest lap times of the day were coming from the drivers up front. So, again, I think the tires, that's why I like the decision of staying out here. You get the cool down phase under these long caution laps here at this track. I mean, a caution lap here is 2 minutes, so the tires under caution get a plenty of time to cool down, and when they do, it just brings them right back to life. So I really like the call from everybody that has stayed out. I think it's worked really well. I mean, I look at Jeff Gilmore. He started back in 14th. He was the first car off pit road. That last time, he's 15th. So it is very well, I think, worked in the favor of a lot of these drivers to stay out. So let's see how this restart goes. But if you're Kenny Real, you're wanting to do the same thing like I said last time, because he has been lights out on the restart since so far. Majority of the night, our leader has been.
This could be the final restart of the night, but if you want to hear some of the recaps of some of the other 802 iRacing League groups that race throughout the week, well, check out the 802 iRacing League podcast every week. You get to hear from Rob Lowell as well as Brandon Garnard, who's going to be the drivers that host the 802 iRacing League series. They have insights of real-life racing as well as the 802 leagues that are ran throughout the week. You can check them out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, or if you'd like, at YouTube, you can go check them out again at the 802 iRacing League podcast. This could be the final restart of the night. If you haven't already, might be time to share. Might be time to give a holler. It's time to see who's winning the Tricky Triangle 225. Pace car is into pit road, and Kenny Real trying to get the launch that he could ask for, but it really was not as great as we've seen others. Coleman is at the quarter panel. Coleman is at the contact of the rear bumper, and they're slicing and dicing for the top 2. Coleman wants the lead, wants to get to the inside, but Real with the better launch out of turn number 1. But here we go, Pogo and a couple of others. Huge launch for themselves. Watch out for Ritter, but they're wrecking behind. We're going to overtime.
That we are. The 42 of Keith Ayers is around, and I believe also it's going to be the 51 of David Duran there getting spun around. So, yeah, tough scenes here, and just wild stuff. We talk about turn 1 drama. Well, guess what? This is what late race turn 1 incidents are going to be like. 3 wide off the exit of 1, 51 up into the 42, and hard collision for that 42 into that inside wall. Same for the 51, and that's going to bring us to caution. But man, they were dicing up front. They were dicing up here too.
I thought Kenny Real was about to just throw his race away and wreck off the nose of Coleman. Not going to be the case, but here's the exit. Just 51, expecting a little bit more space on the outside. Lets that thing drift up. And Ayers was just riding there, waiting to accelerate. And contact made, both drivers, hard contact. No required damage flag given for either driver, but expecting some extended time in pit road before our first attempt at going to be a shootout here tonight. And out there in chat, got a driver rooting, get some Pogo, and he certainly was. That 97 was moving with kind of the fight heading into turn 1 between Real and Coleman. That gave the best chance for Pogo, who I think might have had the big run and maybe enough momentum heading into turn 2 could have made a pass for the lead.
It was definitely on the side of big runs for sure, because he was coming with the head of steam with a push, I believe, from Steve Ritter to 61, who's going to be lining up 4th here now too. So big push, and yeah, that was equating to a big run, because those two of the 8 and the 11, I mean, the 11 got a good start, but like you said, the 8 was able to kind of launch enough with the 97 to almost pull back alongside, where the 11 just kind of threw a big block. Like you said, almost kind of felt like he was going to spin himself off the nose of the 8. It was so close, but he covered that door. It kind of took the air off the 8. That allowed the run from behind, and yeah, Pogo was in position from that point, and now he's going to have another shot here restarting on the front row. So we'll get to see how that works out, but this is going to, I think, definitely be a more interesting restart with how that one shook out. I think the timing is going to be so critical. I think they did a lot better job of kind of matching what the leader did there.
And if it's your first time joining us in the 802 Next Gen Elite Series, welcome. We are heading into our first attempt at overtime. This is going to be our first overtime attempt. We didn't have any during the preseason, and this is only our second race of the current point season. So we'll see how these drivers are going to handle. And Zach, usually in most leagues, the overtime attempts, there's 3 if needed. Now, only going to be 2 overtime attempts. This is going to be our first. So we have a caution under this first lap of green flag racing. We will go into overtime attempt number 2, where overtime attempt number 2 could end under yellow. So these drivers know this is a very crucial restart for a lot of these drivers to set yourself up, because you could potentially only have 2 more attempts at this go for a better position.
That's for sure. Yeah. You know, each one that you have, you're going to take more risk. So I think this first one, you're going to see a lot of risk here, but if we have one more, they know if anything, that's it. You know, that's so the case. So you got to get back to that white flag, and we'll see how this works out. I mean, always green, white checkers are a place where it can make or break you as a driver. I know I've had my own fair share as a driver, have terrible restart where you felt like you were in position to win it, and the next thing you know, you're either backwards or outside the top 5, and you're just kind of mind blown at how it played out. So got to be on top of it, and I think we're going to have another classic finish here at the 802 Cup Series.
We certainly are expecting it. Again, thank you to the primary sponsors of the 802 Next Gen Elite Series, being G-Stone Motors. Go check out G-Stone Motors out in the Middlebury, Vermont area, as well as want to say thank you to BG Graphics. That's graphics with 2 X's at the end. Go check out BG Graphics on Facebook, and if you reach out today and let them know, hey, you heard of BG Graphics from Freaky Fast Broadcasting, you'll get a 10% off on your next order from BG Graphics. Also want to say thank you to 802 iRacing League Podcast, Admin Box, and Riptide Radio. We're stacked up, ready to go. You saw the Admin Box 1 to go pop up. That means it is about to be green flag racing. This is going to be our first attempt of potentially 2. Hear this tonight for overtime. The rules are simple. It is going to be a green, white, checkered. We got 2 laps to go. If we get a caution under our first lap, then we will head into attempt number 2. But if the leader takes the white flag, this race becomes official, and the only flag that matters is the checkered of who will cross the line first. We've already seen drivers use each other up through turns 1 and 2 and a little bit of 3. Zach, I got a feeling we might be seeing the battle for the lead. If the second place is close enough, there might be a little bit of sheet metal being used up against one another.
I'd have to agree, Sam. I think, if you're the leader, Kenny Real, you want to get away, because if they have an opportunity, I think everybody's going to throw the kitchen sink at this thing. So let's get ready to see how this works out. I mean, we got 2 attempts. This is the first one.
Who has got the urge for victory? Who's willing to throw it all out on the line? It's just race 2 of the season, but a good start to the season could set you up for a championship run. It's the 802 Next Gen Elite Series, race 2 here at the Tricky Triangle, 225 at Pocono Raceway. It's overtime racing. Kenny Real, Jeff Pogo, your front 2. Real's got control. Pace car into pit road. Who's winning at the Tricky Triangle 225? Let's find out. Overtime attempt number 1 is underway. A terrible start for those on the inside. It's all Kenny Real, but Steve Ritter's trying to follow suit, and it's trouble for everyone else further on behind as it's 3 wide for second, and it's Real pulling away.
Oh, Humphrey drove it in there on the inside in the 48, but it's the 8 and 97 making contact off of 2 as they're going to scatter down the back straightaway here. But it's Ritter on the back bumper of Real as they head to 2, but it's the group from behind that's going to cause the chaos.
They're going to be 3 wide heading down in turn number 2. We have not seen that work out once here tonight. Will it work out because they're 3 wide, 2 rows deep? No, it won't. Caution is a wrecking further on back. We're going overtime attempt number 2 as the field was about to explode. Trouble further on back, and it's Mark Whitley. Kevin Roy and the 77 will not finish tonight's race.
Man, oh man, at one point it looked like the 77 was going to be the race winner with the race winning strategy, and now in the middle, 3 wide in the back after getting that damage repaired, kind of comes up a little bit with the 88, a little bit off the wall there. They make contact that hooks him head first into that wall, and from there the yellow flag came out. I thought, the 3 wide up ahead we were going to see the issue, but it was a little bit farther. 3 wide kind of came to catch these guys, and it was on the entry of the corner, not normally where you see it.
No, not at all. Again, Mark Whitley trying to get the better exit as he's got the 42 to the inside and just brushing Kevin Roy a little bit too far up, gets out of control, loose, and away he goes. And one of those types of wrecks, again, we are so thankful that we're on the virtual side of things, because that was a hellacious impact for the 77 and the 88. As both of them are now going to send it to pit road. Mark Whitley most likely done for the night. His engine has expired. Well, this gives another chance for some of those drivers up front. Kenny Real, Steve Ritter, Jeff Pogo, Grant Humphrey. Honestly, you could also throw in Isaiah Sutherland and Chad Coleman. They're still in this fight as we are going into our final restart. This is it, the final attempt. If we get a caution under this first lap, the race ends under yellow, but if we take the white flag, this race will end under green flag conditions. And Zach, it's all on the line. No more pit stops expected. It's about taking it to the end.
That is, Sam, and I tell you what, we saw Steve Ritter be the big winner on that last restart there by restarting 4th. Well, this time it's going to be Grant Humphrey in that 4th position. So guess what, folks? He is going to be right back up here in the mix, our pole setter, and I can tell you one thing. He's going to be willing to send it. He's thrown some big moves up the inside of people here tonight. If he's able to clear, get up in the second, I think we could see some interesting moves being made here for sure coming to the end. But, Ritter did a great job that last time, and he's going to be now in the spot, though, like I said, of Jeff Pogo. So Pogo didn't have the greatest start on that bottom. It really stacked things up. Coleman was kind of like the big loser out of all that in the 8 machine. He drops back to the 6. But, yeah, you got to be on top of things when you're on that bottom, Sam, because it can quickly stack up on those restarts.
It certainly can. Got to get the lucky dog and get that lap back for Jonathan Smith and 78, 72 on car. We'll see if he gets that fixed up for next week. That's 2 weeks we've seen the wrong number on that machine. But drivers that really gained positions throughout tonight. We've got 3 drivers in line that have gained the most spots here this evening. That's 9th place runner of Tyler Humphrey, 11th place runner of Matthew Taylor, and the driver who took the final spot, qualified his way in, took 40th position. 46 drivers attempted to make tonight's race. Only 40 were able to make it into the official featured running. Kevin Tipton in 12th position, up 28 positions. He is our current biggest mover of the night. Other big movers, 15th place runner of Ty Dickinson, up 24 spots as he qualified 39th here this evening. Congratulations to those drivers on the big moves. Jet Pogo as well, up 18 spots from where he started. So there's been a lot of drivers that have been moving up and down throughout this field. A lot of drivers that, there's over 40. We wish we could talk about everybody. But when it comes to the end of this race, it's about who is getting to victory lane. And all eyes going to be looking up to Kenny Reel, Steve Ritter, Jeff Pogo, Grant Humphrey. Who's making it to the end? I know there's a couple of people out there in chat. Who are you rooting for to win it here tonight? We've seen a lot of contenders. Do you think it's Reel that will just take it here on this final restart of the evening? Or can someone else try to steal it at the end? This is going to be a good one, Zach. Who are you expecting to watch make the big runs? Who do you think's going to win here tonight?
Well, this is interesting. Kenny Reel is going to take the bottom, it looks like. He's going to the inside. So this is going to set some interesting things up. Pogo's going to restart, Ritter's going to start now on the top side. So he is not in the worst position I thought he was going to be, and that's not going to put Grant Humphrey in the spot I thought he was, because he was going to restart behind the leader I was thinking. So, I like the call from Reel to change this up. We'll see if it works out for him, but right now, Ritter, we'll see what he can do. I kind of like his positioning by being that first car on the outside line, Sam. It's always nice to have that position here.
Who will have the better run at the end of the day? I know we got a couple of people rooting on Pogo. We've got some Grant Humphrey fans out there in chat. And this is it, the final restart of the evening. Our second attempt at overtime. We only get 2. This race is either going to finish under green or under yellow. If we get a caution under this first lap, we will finish under yellow. If we take the white flag, then this race is all about who crosses the line first. Kenny Reel on the inside is going to be the driver in control on this restart. Again, final thank yous while we are under racing conditions to our replay sponsor of G-Stone Motors, our caution flag sponsor BG Graphics, white flag sponsor of 802 iRacing League podcast, as well as the admin box. Riptide Radio going to be here for the post-race show sponsor. But we've got ourselves just 27 drivers on the lead lap. The final restart of the night. The Tricky Triangle 225 is back underway. It's your final attempt. Kenny Reel, great launch for himself, his best so far. Can Pogo catch up? Ritter, anyone else? Because the 11 looks to be gone.
I mean, what a job by Kenny Reel. There's the 48, jumps to the outside. He wants to make a 3 wide, but just not enough grip there to do that. Is this going to be side by side off of 2? Pogo almost into the door of the 61 on Ritter, but he's going to keep it straight for the time being as Reel tries to drive away down to turn 2.
Reel trying to drag both lanes, keep the side-by-side action for second place. That's helping him continuously keep the gap. If you're second or third, you need to get in line, utilize the draft, but contact's going to be made. Sutherland, Pogo into the inside wall. Caution is out, and Kenny Reel will win this race under yellow as it's hellacious contact. They just continue to pile in, and that wreck ends the race as white flag is thrown, but the race will end under yellow as your 802 iRacing League podcast white flag is out. Zach, it was the drivers we kind of expected to be involved with it, as Isaiah Sutherland, Pogo, they all went for it, but at the end of the day, caution is out and the big one strikes as multiple drivers are now out of this thing as we take a G-Stone Motors replay of the final wreck of the night.
Here they are, Dolpha turn number 1 on that restart. You saw Humphrey go way up wide, but it's the 61 of Steve Ritter, the 97 of Jeff Pogo, side by side down to turn number 2, and they're going to see him race into the tunnel turn. It's going to be pretty much, all clean and game here for the time being. Is they're going to be going through tunnel turn. You're going to see the 97 get a little tight, but the 61, as the run comes, they're going to kind of make contact. The 61 comes down as the 97 comes up. They kind of bounce off each other. Sutherland sees that. He goes low, but as that happens, the 97 starts to wreck, and the 74 is there and just unfortunately catches Sutherland out kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. But man, oh man, you can see from here, the rebound up onto the track from Pogo and Sutherland just causes a massive collision here, and it's going to really shake up the lineup.
It is. There are multiple drivers with required damage that will not be able to cross the line and finish out this race. But your top three going to be Kenny Reel, Steve Ritter, Grant Humphrey as they're exiting out of turn number 3. 97 laps were ran, and it is Kenny Reel who started 7th, survived all the chaos and madness, got the restart he needed at the end of the day, helped both lanes, and Kenny Reel will win the Tricky Triangle 225 here tonight. Other drivers that are excited for this one going to be Steve Ritter as well as Grant Humphrey, as Chad Coleman, I believe, passed right before the line, and that's a black flag for the 8. We'll see if that changes anything at the end, as drivers were not just staying single file all the way to the crossing the line.
Yeah, you got to be careful there getting past somebody. I think, he did. He just barely passed Humphrey. As you see, Reel burning it down here. We'll see where Coleman is slotted. It's going to slot him back to 29th here for the time being. So we'll have to see about that. But Humphrey, of course, will be 3rd. But man, oh man, Kenny Reel, what a job. First race of the season for him, and he's going to put in victory lane.
We saw Kenny Reel on the roster. We knew he was going to be a driver to watch out for, and he proves it once again. The strategy, the speed, got the cautions that were needed, stayed out for track position at the end, and the 11 takes the victory here at the Tricky Triangle 225 at Pocono Raceway for race 2 of the season. Enjoy the burnout, says we will step away when we come back. It is going to be your Riptide Radio post-race show. We'll talk to our top 3, Kenny Reel, Steve Ritter, as well as Grant Humphrey, get their thoughts on tonight's race and get you prepared for next week at Atlanta 08. We'll be back right after this for the post-race show. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Riptide Radio post-race show for the 802 Next Gen Elite Series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Race 2 of the Tricky Triangle 225 is in the books, and we head to Victory Lane to pull up the 11 of Kenny Reel. Kenny, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, Kenny, we saw that you signed up for the 802 League, had a sense that you were going to be one of the favorites immediately showing up in your first race here in Victory Lane. How are you feeling after your performance here this evening?
Oh, we're feeling good. The car was fast all night, and I kind of wish it would have ended under green. I wanted to kind of race that out with everybody there. We had a lot of green flag runs, and yeah, the strategy kind of played out for us. I topped up that one pit stop. And I really didn't want to pit when I did. The only reason I pit when I did is me and Whitley in the turn 2 made contact and I got sideways. So my tires were just on fire after that. So I just felt like pitting there was the call. And I knew I could have a quicker pit stop because I wouldn't take as much fuel, and it ended up working out for us. And I couldn't get back to Coleman. So luckily the caution ended up coming out and I was able to make my way forward before he was. But other than that, it was all in all a good race.
Definitely a good race. Congrats on the win, Kenny. I mean, you make the decision there, with multiple restarts there coming in. You restart on the outside. Very last one, decided to take the inside. It worked out really well. Take us through like the decision making there for picking your lane.
Yeah, all of them I was really wanting to stay on the top lane every time. I know Coleman, when he restarted on my inside, the first one he didn't time as well. The second one he did time really well, and I threw a couple blocks on him and stalled out his momentum going into 1. He threw it in there. I threw it in there. I didn't even brake going into turn 1, luckily. And ended up picking the bottom there that last restart because I was trying to pull Pogo with me because I knew he was behind me. He'd at least work with me a little bit. And he ended up getting unlucky off turn 2 there. I don't know what happened. I had to go back and watch it. But yeah, that was really why I picked the bottom, just to help out Pogo and keep Coleman and Grant on the top lane where they wouldn't get a good restart.
Well, Kenny, we're moving to quite a long 1.5-mile stretch of tracks in front of us. What's the confidence knowing we're going to the 08 Atlanta, then Texas, Chicagoland, and then the current Atlanta after that?
I'm all right at the old Atlanta. It just depends on how the track is, how hot it is. The grip level can be really bad, especially with this car. Dirty air is going to play a huge factor. Texas, I'm really good at, but still, this car's horrible in dirty air. But as long as you can keep clean air on the nose, and at least half a lane of clean air, you'll be all right. And just managing the tires, keeping the car clean, and just being there at the end.
Well, we can't wait to see how you perform in those future races, Kenny. Congratulations on your win here tonight. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any other shout-outs.
I just want to give a shout-out to the Jack Shack, Halsey Motorsports, PG Graphics, all the guys that put on this league, Rob and all them, and you guys for putting on a broadcast. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for giving us such a great show to call. That's going to be Kenny Reel winning here tonight at Pocono for the Tricky Triangle 225. Kenny, enjoy this one, and good luck next week at Atlanta.
Thank you.
As we move from Victory Lane, we go down to second place to talk to the 61 of Steve Ritter. Steve, you certainly have had a roller coaster of 2 weeks. Last week with the internet issues, going 2 laps down, then coming back with a great finish. And then tonight, showing your speed. You were on some of the oldest tires of anybody and able to come away second. How are you feeling, though, after your performance here tonight?
Yeah, no, pretty good. Last week was a kind of an adventure, and this week was no different. I ended up, in the back for a while there, and just kind of worked our way back up, and then pit strategy basically put us, in the top 5 and made the most of it.
Definitely did make the most of it, Steve. Congrats on that, man. I mean, those restarts there at the end were really wild. How did you end up navigating it? Because you did an excellent job there, especially on the next to last one where you were able to get to that second spot.
Yeah, that was a lucky guess. I'd said to Rob and I were on Discord together. I said, I'm either wrecking Kenny or we're going to go together and I'll be in second. And I just guessed right. And he hit the throttle and away we went. But I don't like seeing those yellows at the end like that, especially a track like this, because it just takes forever to get back to the restart. And It just bungles up that thing. I wish we would have run that green out because me, Chad, and Kenny, I think would have had a good race to the end there. But
Well, Steve, I'm going to ask the same question I asked Kenny. We've got ourselves a lot of 1.5 mile tracks ahead of us here. What's the confidence level knowing that we've got the 2008 Atlanta, then Texas, Chicagoland, before we go to the current Atlanta that they run right now?
yeah, I mean, I like the 1.5 miles. Charlotte, Texas, Atlanta, old Atlanta, Homestead, tracks like that. Pocono, I really like. So, yeah, no, I feel pretty good about the tracks that are coming up and this kind of the schedule that's been laid out. So, I mean, we're just following the NASCAR schedule, so it's kind of fun to do that. And yeah, I feel pretty good about it.
Well, Steve, again, congratulations on second. It's been fun to see you showing out the fact that you have the most mental fortitude of a lot of these drivers continue racing and to show the strength that this 61 has under yourself. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any other shout outs.
Yeah, just everybody on the car, Ritter's Frozen Custard, Sim Magic, Bone Dry Roofing, you guys for a fantastic broadcast, one of the best I've ever seen. So thank you guys for covering it, and just Rob for running the league and all that he does for everybody.
Well, that'll be the 61 of Steve Ritter coming away second here tonight. Congratulations on the running here, Steve, and good luck next week at Atlanta.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too. As we move from second place, we go down to third. Talked to one of the drivers that had a lot of fans out in chat rooting for Grant Humphrey to get the win, but he'll take third here tonight. Grant, it's Sam and Zach up at the booth. Congratulations on third place here tonight, as well as grabbing the pole. Man, how are you feeling, though, after your performance this evening?
I'm feeling pretty good. It seemed like a pretty good race, just really tight in the dirty air.
Definitely was hard to make passes out there, Grant, but you were definitely one of the drivers making the most of them. How were you able to navigate the restarts? Because it seemed really wild from our side watching all of them.
I just kind of had to send it in on the outside or the inside. That's really the only way. Everyone else was doing the same thing. And just try to get the throttle back down quicker than they could.
Well, Grant, there's still a lot of racing this season. You've shown that you're going to be one of the threats up front. How are you feeling with your competition on the fact that we're only just on race 2 and we got ourselves quite a long 1.5 miles of track stretch ahead of us?
I'm not sure yet. There's a lot of good guys in this league, so I think it'll take a couple more races to really figure out where I sit and how I'm going to do. So we'll just be patient, trying to keep grinding.
Well, you certainly are showing out in our eyes. You're looking like one of those top 10 drivers to watch out for each and every week. Grant, before we let you go, though, the floor is now yours for any other shout-outs.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Muscle Poodles, the Bar Distillery, Isabel's Impact, my brother for always helping me, my parents for watching, the rest of my family, and then you all for broadcasting, and then my amazing girlfriend for letting me do this.
Well, that will be the 48 machine of Grant Humphrey coming away third here tonight. Congratulations on that running, Grant, and good luck next week at Atlanta.
Thank you.
Well, that will finish out our interviews here tonight. Certainly a lot of wild ones up and down for a lot of these drivers, but at the end of the day, it's Kenny Real that will take the victory here this evening from the Tricky Triangle 225. But let's take a look at where some of these other drivers finished out here this evening. Your top 10 unofficially, and we mean unofficially, there could be some changing around due to Chad Coleman getting a black flag late and losing his top 5 positioning. But it's going to be Kenny Real officially taking the win. Then it's Steve Ritter second, Grant Humphrey third. Then things get a little bit changed up potentially here, but fourth place currently, based off what iRacing's telling us, it's Michael Wolf. Tyler Humphrey fifth. Christopher Muse will take 6th. 7th goes to Timothy Parker in the 18 with Kevin Tipton. Driver who took the last place position will come away 8th. Jeff Gilmore 9th, and Matt Taylor finished outside of the top 10 last week. He'll finish inside of the top 10 this week for the 15.
Eddie Will is 11th. He's going to go to Brett Hahn with Daniel Holcraft coming home in 12th. Derek Manal's going to be 13th. David Duran, we saw him up front a little bit tonight. He's going to be in the 14th spot with Tim Rogers in 15th. 16th is going to go to Ron Holyfield. 17th, Rob Lowell. 18th is going to Keith Ayers. Jonathan Smith's going to finish in 19th. And rounding out the top 20 is Kevin Roy in his look through the rest of that list, Sam, it's mostly the drivers who are involved in the wrecks from the here on down, and the drivers that were mainly laps down.
Yeah, it was a rough one for some of these guys. Got to feel bad for Jeff Pogo, Isaiah Sutherland. They were really good threats up there. Scott Simley, just the night this season of when it officially started, moving from preseason into the actual season is just falling away. Same for his teammate. That will be seeing Mike Kelly taking that final spot in 40th. And then everyone outside of the top 40 were drivers that were not able to make it into the featured race, that missed out off of qualifying. Arabia Caton, as well as many of others, were trying their best but missed out. And honestly, that's kind of the fun. It is drama from the start of the broadcast to the very end. Who makes it into the race, and then who can win the race? So here from Pocono, it was Kenny Reel that gets it done, but Zach, that certainly it doesn't end here, as we got more racing action next week. 2008 Atlanta is the next race on the docket.
I cannot wait for that one, man. That's going to be exciting times. You heard it from Kenny. He talked about it. It's a track that kind of varies with this next gen with really the grip level. Sometimes you can go there and it could be really way off and high gripped up, and then all of a sudden sliding around on another time. So going to be interesting to see what kind of weather we get there, what kind of conditions, how the all racing goes there. But I can expect 40 something cars out there. We're going to be spread around Atlanta, running from top to bottom. So can't wait to see these guys attack that and continue on this season, because like a few of the guys even talked about in their interviews, this is such a really high competition level league right now that it is wide open for someone to come in here and step in as a new contender. We've seen Kenny Reel come here tonight, who could be the next newcomer next week.
Yeah, I mean, who will be the next driver to add in? Again, it is completely free to race in this 802 Next Gen Elite Series. All you got to do is just get in contact with the 802 Racing League socials, find a way to get into the Discord, and you can find yourself being out there on track next week at the Atlanta 08. Could you be the next Kenny Reel to show up and get into victory lane, or will we see some of the regulars that have been here since the preseason step up and try to dethrone some of these new guys that are showing out here each and every week? It's been a fun one so far for us. Again, more racing action throughout the week. But for tonight, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Zach Hall and Robert Moyer Jr. and everyone else that helps out at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you so much for joining with us here on your Thursday night. If you're watching this live, we appreciate it. If you're rewatching it later on in the week, we appreciate you as well hopping in and watching the racing action. The numbers help out the league. It helps us out in the booth. Remember to hit that like button, as well as if you would like to get some Freaky Fast merch, check out the merch line that we have at the bottom, where you can click in the bottom left corner. For us here tonight, though, it's been a blast to give you the call, as it will be Kenny Reel taking the victory. We got more racing action next week to be called here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We've got the second to last race of the season for the Lone Star NASCAR iRacing Series as they head to Nashville Super Speedway. Then Tuesday, first race for us as we take over for pit stop for the summertime break, as the BRB Sundance Pizza Pro Series, as they're about to hit the halfway zone of their regular season, as they get propelled and ready for who will make the chase. And I'm excited to see how those guys run. The ARCA cars has been a blast for us in Freaky Fast to race, and now we get to call how their races go. But if you can't wait until then, certainly we are excited for Atlanta next week. Should be a fun one for us here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. 802 Next Gen Elite Series is becoming one of our favorites to call. 40 drivers race. Who's going to be those 40 drivers? We'll find out next week, but I can't wait until then. We'll see you Monday night. Second to last race of the season, Nashville Super Speedway, Lone Star Racing action. We'll see you on our next Freaky Fast broadcast event.
I was standing, staying still, never said what I feel, and every time I took the blame, carried all this quiet shame, 'cause all the pressure in my chest, I've gotta fight to catch my breath, when every step still feels the same, trying not to break. Where do I go from here? Maybe I'll disappear. If I don't try, I'll never know. I'm waiting on you. Where do I go from here? There will be no more tears. Kill the doubt, feed the fire, hear the voice inside. It's my turn this time. They took a shot, now I want mine. You fall, I rise, I take the wheel. So this is how it feels. Where do I go from here? Maybe I'll disappear. If I don't try,